Okay, it says we're live now. I did because we tend to go both live on the landscape format along with the vertical format now. And for some reason, yeah, I just got the notification that we're up now. So hopefully some people will be joining us here soon. But I did think I saw um some um some stuff from Enrique this week. So it looks like it might have got lost in translation there in the process of picking it up. I don't know what happened with StreamYard, so I apologize, guys. I know that there was a lot of people. Kiki and Lucas says, did the chat get erased? Yeah, I think so. Johnny Marrero in the house. Also, what's
What?
up, Adam? Yeah, I think the chat might have gotten erased. See if you can find
Okay,
it. Can you pull
no,
it up
this
on
is
YouTube?
well, this is weird because I don't even have a chat on my end. Like on my end, the screen looks completely blank. But yeah, I'll try bringing it up on YouTube. Then I
Yeah,
can
bring it
see
up
the
on
chats
YouTube.
that way.
See if we're live and if how everything looks. Maybe even put something in the chat. Type something in the chat and see if it comes up. Hey, Kiki and Luca, good to see you. We looks like we had some technical
Okay, so that's
difficulties
the
this morning.
main version, I think.
Oh, I do see one person viewing us on um on YouTube right now. So yeah, that might be Kiki and Luca.
Oh, okay, cool. So I can see it if I go to the video. I can see the chat.
Okay, but you went to the YouTube channel?
Yeah.
And you see us going just fine. Are both sides up, the vertical and the landscape?
Oh yeah, yeah. Both sides are up. I actually got both of them open at the moment.
Okay, cool. All right,
Although
awesome.
it's so weird, like turning my head and then just seeing the 1 second delay and seeing everything play out 1 second later.
Yeah, it's pretty trippy. You have another one set up. Yeah, okay. So, all right, just want to make sure. I don't know what happened there. So I apologize about the delay, guys. But we had some technical difficulties. I was setting the show up yesterday, and StreamYard was giving me some challenges with setting it up to YouTube, saying that like something in my title wasn't allowed. I don't know why it wasn't. So I kept trying and trying and trying, and I eventually got it. And when I went to the backstage of YouTube, I had like seven prompts, like seven videos set up for upcoming live. I'm like, what? So I went ahead and started deleting some, keeping the two, the vertical, just one of the vertical, one of the landscape. And maybe I accidentally deleted the one that was actually set to go live. It was super weird, super weird. But yeah,
Indeed.
Kiki and Lucas says the other one hasn't started. You have two shows set up. I'm gonna check that out. I don't know if I have access to the.
I thought they were both going. They looked like they were both working. Let me try again.
Yeah, I'm gonna try over my. I
Yeah,
feel
it
like
says currently we have 2 live streams on the channel.
okay.
Yeah, so we should be good, I think.
Yeah, I do see. One just doesn't have the logo added to it, which is unfortunate. So that's a little bit of a bummer. Um, can I add that here? No, I don't think I can add that here because I don't have the thumbnail on this computer. Dang it, Adam. It's all right. We'll make it work. We'll make it work. The other one has several chats from other people.
Yeah, okay, now I see it. It's the one that says it's going live, but yeah. Okay, I didn't see there was a third one on here.
um oh, so there is a third one, huh?
Yeah, the third one which has our thumbnail on it, but when you click on it, it just takes you to the thumbnail and it says waiting for 8+ year report.
Interesting. Okay, let me try and go behind the scenes and see what sorry about the technical difficulties, guys. It was not supposed to go down this way this morning. I was like, we got everything ready to go. Let's do this. Oh, I do see the upcoming one. All right. Um, actually, let me do this. Can I give me one moment, y'all? Because we do got a lot of news. That's really unfortunate. Kind of bums me out that that one's not working. Okay, so I updated the All right, so I updated the thumbnail for that one. So I might have to take this other video down though. Yeah, looks like we got 3 live viewers, 4 views. Okay, but is this the? Oh, that's the vertical one. Okay, 8 views. Okay, cool. Let me can I go to this old chat though? Let me see if I can try and pull up some of the comments that people were making.
Yeah, it
Okay,
looks
here.
like the chat's still
Okay,
there. We just won't be able to
okay.
like pull it up on the screen.
To pull it up. All right, cool. So let me do this. All right. So a couple people. Enrique Perez. Hi, Adam. Honorable mention is that I saw the first official trailer for Pixar's upcoming original movie Hoppers, and it'll be arriving in theaters in March of next year. Hoppers. What is that one about, Stu? Do you know?
Hoppers, no
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah, I'm not familiar with that one. He says also saw the official trailer for the upcoming live action Moana. Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about that. Thursday, NBC is going to air the Macy's Thanksgiving Parade. New balloons include Buzz Lightyear to promote Toy Story 5 and Shrek's Onion Carriage to promote Shrek 5 also, to promote
That's
Shrek 5. So that should be interesting.
Oh, I see. So Hoppers is the new animated movie. It's okay. I think I remember seeing this trailer. Like these scientists, they find ways to put human minds into animal brains, and they do that so they can use them to study animals.
Oh, wow. Yikes. Okay. Let's
Except
see.
it wasn't meant to sound horrifying. It's supposed to be like adorable from the looks of the trailer.
Oh, okay. Okay. He also saw the tickets on sale trailer for the upcoming Avatar 3 Fire and Ash. The movie will be arriving in just 1 month away. Yeah, I did see they did release tickets, so tickets are on sale for Avatar. So go ahead and pick them up. I do see Kiki and Luca in the other space. Blossom says, "What's up, Blossom? Good to see you. Another day, another video with awesome news. Can I chat in here? Let me see. Hey guys." We have another live video set up as this one is not working. I don't know if people will see that in the live chat or not over there. Let's see here. Kiki and Luca's got a couple comments. Regarding Leslye Headland, if you want to be successful in Star Wars, you need 2 things. 1, make a show that appeals to everyone. You can't make your kind of show and hope or don't care if everybody likes it. 2, it's got to be high quality and entertaining. The bar is super high. Headland made a mediocre show, which alienated a lot of Star Wars fans. So she was 0 for 2. That's why she failed, and that's why the show wasn't renewed. Regarding Mandalorian, Disney is asking us to pay for something we got for free through Disney Plus. Movie has to blow our socks off. I hope it will. We also got Peg C in the house. How's it going, Adam? Good to see you, Peg C. Appreciate you certainly coming through, Mr. Ram Jam himself. Let me see. Can I make this go live? Like, even though, no, I guess it just keeps saying upcoming, so I guess I can't really make it um go live. So I might just close this one down. Not the live ones now, just the upcoming ones. So I'll delete that. So then when they do come back, where did the show go? Hopefully they'll pop back up into this one. So we'll see how that goes. We'll keep you posted though.
Yeah.
Um, Keegan Luke says, "Did you see Chainsaw Man?"
Oh, the movie? Yes. I thought it was incredible because I had read the manga before watching the movie, so I knew what the outcome was going to be, and it still got me emotional. Even like
Yeah.
knowing how it ends, I'm still like, no, poor Genji.
Stuart, are you gonna watch Rental Family
Yes, at some point, both that one
or Wicked?
and yeah, both honestly are on my list. I don't know which one I'll see first. Probably Wicked because I just rewatched both Wicked and The Wizard of Oz last night, so I got it like fresh in my brain. So I want to watch Wicked 2 first, but I do want to watch Rental
Rental
Family
Family?
because
Yeah.
Brandon Fraser, man, you can never go wrong with Brandon Fraser.
Yeah, I mean, literally the trailer for Rental Family almost made me cry. I was like, dude, I got to see this movie. And I do love Brendan Fraser, so I probably will end up seeing that one first before I see Wicked, just because of schedules for me and the girlfriend trying to line up to try and see Wicked together. Because if I see Wicked by myself, I may get kicked out of the house. So I'm going to try and probably see Rental Family first, but it's definitely on my radar. Blossom has joined us. This news is so gonna rock. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And you have to fire your technical director. Well, it was nice knowing you guys. Bye, y'all.
All right, I guess I'm going solo now.
Yeah. Sorry about that, y'all. But yeah, hopefully, I blame StreamYard. I blame StreamYard. Pexy's the Michael Jackson impersonator is getting a lot of hate on TikTok. Why? I wonder what happened with him. But all right, we had a late start, so I do apologize, guys. So let's go ahead and kick this show off, Stuart, shall we, with our first segment of the day. And we got honorable mentions for you guys today. If this is your first time joining the show, honorable mentions are topics that didn't quite make our top 6, but felt that you certainly still deserve to know about it. I got a few to go through, so I'm going to probably go through these as quickly as I possibly can. Stuart, do you have an honorable mention, though, this week?
I don't, but I mean, I kind of had one until he sent me what the articles were, and I feel like mine's going to get touched upon when we talk about the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie. So
Okay.
I will wait for my honorable mention when we get to that segment.
Also, shout out to Indy in the live chat with us. Love y'all. We love you too, Indy. Look, Indy hasn't been able to join us here for a while, but he has had some difficulty in regards to his family as of late. So please keep him and his family in your wishes. Send out some prayers his way. Him and his family definitely need it right now, but hopefully we will have Indy join us relatively soon. But yeah, good to see you in here, buddy. Appreciate you certainly coming through today, man. Also
love
joining
you too,
us over
Indy.
on we love you too, brother. Come back when you can. All right, so you said your honorable mention was probably going to be something that we touch on when we talk about TMNT today.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Really, first bit of news, I should have probably had this ready to go. I'm going to go through some of just the quick headlines that I'm seeing here. Gundam is in the news here this week. For those of you who don't know, it is currently, I think it was in pre-production. I don't believe it's in production yet, but we are getting ourselves a live action Gundam movie. And this week we've already had news that Sydney Sweeney is attached as one of the leads for the film. This week, we also have another casting announcement, Noah Centineo, who's going to be in the most recent upcoming John Rambo movie. We've seen, I think he also played Adam Smasher in the Black Adam movie, but Noah Centineo is going to be now the co-lead here alongside Sydney Sweeney. He's actually replacing somebody that stepped away from the project, but he is now also going to be a lead in the Gundam movie as well. We also got news Twisted Metal has in fact been renewed for a 3rd season. This time, though, they do have themselves a new showrunner, so it will be interesting to see how the tone, how the just really the vision of the show certainly changes. Maybe it'll be rather seamless. But for Peacock's original series here, Twisted Metal will in fact be getting a 3rd season. That has in fact been renewed.
Wonder why they switched showrunners.
I don't know. I'll have to dive further into the article a little bit, but it is available for you guys to check out if you want. We also got some Punisher news. Some of this might upset some people, who knows, but according to the executive producer for Daredevil Born Again, confirmed that John Bernthal's Punisher will not return for Born Again Season 2. Instead, he will next be seen in the Marvel's Punisher special presentation on Disney in 2026. It says Castle breaking out of Wilson Fisk's prison will lead to that special. And then we'll also get the opportunity to see him again in 2026 for Spider-Man Brand New Day. So despite not having him return for Daredevil Born Again Season 2, we will definitely get plenty of Punisher in 2026, Stuart.
Yeah. I'm not worried about that. I was glad he got his spotlight in season 1, and I like the fact that he's getting a special, and he'll be in Spider-Man, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, absolutely. We also got some House of Dragon news. It looks as though House of Dragon has in fact been renewed for season 4. I think the initial plan was for the series to run for 4 seasons. There is talk that they may extend the season. I don't know how far out, but we will at least get a season 4 here, as it's been officially renewed ahead of the season 3 premiere. And also, the article that this comes from also states that the upcoming spin-off series, a Knight of the Seven Kingdoms, the Hedge Knight series, that actually has already gotten an early season 2 renewal as well. So yeah. Game of Thrones spinoffs doing relatively well right now. What else did we get here this week? I'm trying to scroll down. I don't have an image for this, but you know how we've been talking about when the hell is this Lantern series coming out? If you guys remember,
yeah, that's right.
yeah. Originally, a Hollywood Reporter said, "Hey, this is coming out the later half of 2026." People were like, "Oh no, it can't be." And then there was a earnings call a couple of weeks ago from HBO that said, "No, don't worry about it. It's coming out early 2026." Well, that's still not the case, as another CEO of HBO this week has in fact confirmed that it'll be coming out late summer. Late summer. So this feels like it kind of puts Lanterns now kind of in between Supergirl and Clayface. So I feel like this is the last time we're playing musical chairs with this. I swear to God, I think this is like the last time that we have an update for Lanterns release date. But I am expecting Lanterns late summer, according to Warner Brothers.
Yeah. I'm a little disappointed only because I looked forward to having everything like DC content wise being spread out, and now it seems like Supergirl and Green Lanterns are going to come out around the same kind of time. But yeah, not like mad or anything, just a little disappointed. But
Yeah,
at the same time, if it makes a better quality show, I'm all for it.
yeah, I'm under the impression that, but Supergirl will come out probably in June. If anything, I would expect Lanterns maybe like August or something like that. So we'll see how that turns out. For you Super Sentai fans, we got ourselves a new trademark here from Toei. Super Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity, which is interesting considering that one of the next entries that we've been kind of expecting for this Super Sentai rebrand, the name or the title has been Universe Heroes. We've kind of talked about it a little bit in this suggestion of, it kind of gives vibes of like a crossover event, in the sense that you can kind of take characters from like Metal Heroes and Super Sentai and maybe put them on adventures together or whatever the case may be. So with the trademarking of Super Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity, there are hints to kind of suggest that, Stuart. The return of Space Sheriff Gavin, this super to me kind of suggests Super Sentai. And Infinity maybe kind of suggesting the concept of like, not that the show will go on forever, but like a continuous collaboration or a meeting of the two, it feels like. So we'll see if that is in fact the case kind of going forward. Or if this is just going to be a brand new Space Sheriff Gavin show. Who knows? But the plot certainly thickens to it.
Definitely. I do hope it's like a merger of the two. Like we get like more just Super Sentai and Metal Heroes from all like different series. And I just think it'd be kind of cool. Nerds love continuity. They love callbacks. So if that's kind of like one of the directions that they're going in, I don't think it should be the direction they rely on, because I feel like once you get to too many callbacks, too much fan service, then of course it feels cheap. But I think that if it's like one of the ideas of the rebranding is that we're going to acknowledge the past a little bit more, I think that's a cool step.
Yeah, I agree. I totally agree. I think it'd be pretty dope. And I'm eager to see just the costume designs again for Metal Heroes. They always have some of the coolest. And this Sheriff Gavin's lightsaber. Yeah, I'm always game for that.
Fun fact: the metal heroes are what inspired RoboCop.
Ooh, I didn't know that. That's dope. I like it. I'm a fan of RoboCop, so that makes sense. Another honorable mention here. Our first new look at
Ooh.
image for Daredevil Born Again season 2 dropped. Empire Magazine released this brand new look along with the producer having some comments saying for season 2, the landscape was open and that was so liberating. Talk about the creativity behind it. We were like, we can do whatever we want. They're really talking about the idea that season 1 was very much retooled from a different sort of beginning for Born Again, and season 1 is very much a mix of what they had originally written and some of the rewrites, whereas season 2, according to them, they say the deck is cleared creatively. So they're really taking their own creative liberty. So I really do expect maybe some familiar tones from season 1, from some of the rewrites. I feel like the rewrite tones will probably continue and be elaborated upon to give us our own really like distinct feeling season 2 Born Again, and that kind of gets me pretty hyped, Stuart.
Yeah, I love that costume. That looks so
Yeah,
badass.
yeah, I agree. And then James Cameron is back in the news, not necessarily for Avatar, but for everybody's favorite Alita, saying that apparently they've sworn a blood oath to make Alita 2. He says, I really appreciate the loyalty of the Alita fans. Robert and I have sworn a blood oath to do at least one more Alita movie. In fact, we're thinking of an architecture that bridges to a third film, but we'll be satisfied if we can make one more, and we're making progress on that. So there is hope. Hope remains for an Alita sequel. And as somebody who was a fan of the first one, thought it was a very underrated movie that not a lot of people got the opportunity to see. I'm eager to kind of see them actually do something more with this franchise.
I'm always down for good, anime adaptation, so that whenever there's another bad one, I can be like, no. See, if they can adapt Alita Battle Angel, there is no reason you can't adapt Dragon Ball correctly.
Yes, right? Yeah. No excuses, y'all. No excuses. Let's see here. And then last but not least, we got two really quick ones here we'll go over. Moana did drop a teaser trailer for a brand new live action remake of the animated movie. I don't even remember when the first animated movie came out. We literally just had the second one drop earlier this year, I think.
Yeah.
And now the live action dropped the trailer. I'm not gonna lie, Stuart. Like I was watching this and I'm like, is this the animated version? There's just so much heavy CGI lifting in this that it's pretty crazy. So I don't really like it didn't blow like visually it looks cool, but it didn't like blow me away in the sense of making me feel like this is gonna be any different from what I watched because visually it literally almost looks the same, except for like the final sequence when you actually see the actress that plays Moana kind of sing at the end. Otherwise, this trailer didn't necessarily do anything for me, to be honest with you.
Yeah. I did not care for it at all. I loved, the first Moana movie. And watching this, it looks exactly like it looks like they're just like kind of doing like a shot for shot remake. Like I'm sure the actual movie will have some changes here and there, but yeah, it does not look. It looks like basically you get Dwayne Johnson and I'm not sure the actress's name playing Moana in this movie, but it looks like you got the two of them in costumes, and maybe in some scenes they're filming on the beach, but most of the time it's just like the two of them in a studio just recreating scenes from Moana, and that just doesn't seem interesting to me. Like even how to Train Your Dragon, at least like put in the effort, even if it was like a shot for shot remake. They put in the effort when it came to like the set designs, when it came to casting the right people, instead of just like going, hey, Dwayne Johnson voiced him and he's worth $1 million, so let's just recast him. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, not looking forward to this one, honestly.
Yeah, me either, unfortunately. And then last but not least, we did have ourselves a brand new Hunger Games trailer drop,
Yes.
along with a brand new teaser poster, as you see here. These games are going to be different. This is from the Hunger Games: Sunrise of the Reaping, the second prequel to the Hunger Games. I'm assuming that this comes after the first prequel that we just saw. But still takes place decades before we get to Katniss Everdeen's story. It travels back, I think, to the 50th Hunger Game, where we got Haymitch, I
Hmm.
believe, is kind of the focus of this one. And the director Francis Lawrence comes back. I gotta tell you, man, I love this trailer. This trailer looked really good, really intense. It feels like it's going to be different. Some of the character designs in here are a little bit creepy. That lady that gets rolled out in the beginning to announce the Hunger Games, it was something like out of Weapons. All of a sudden, I was like, Is this lady back? Is the aunt back? Or the grandmother back?" But the heavy makeup and everything like freaked me the hell out at first.
Damn! Now that you put that piece together, I'm not gonna be able to unsee it now. Next time when I watch this movie in theaters, I'm gonna think, oh, it's a Weapons crossover. It's Gladys.
Yeah, it's Gladys. On Gladys comes out to announce the 50th the Hunger Games, but it looks intense. The countdown I thought was amazing. The battle sequences are going to be great. There's a volcano on the freaking island. It looks like. I can't wait for this one, man. I still have not seen the previous one, but I this one looks great too. Maybe I'll just watch them both back to back when this releases.
Yeah, the one thing that disappoints me about it is I feel like at this point, we've had 5 successful Hunger Games movies, all with the PG-13 rating. But man, my fiance read this book, and the way she described it to me, I kind of wish they would go for an R rating with this one. But of course, I feel like because they want to hit that same audience, they want it to be like for the whole family. They want people that maybe watched the Hunger Games movies as little teenagers and are now probably having kids now because it's been that long since the first one came out. They probably want them to take their kids to see this movie. But it is. I feel like if there was ever a chance to do like a Hunger Games R-rated movie, this is the one to adapt into an R-rated film.
You're not the first person I've heard say that. Somebody on my BlueSky or Threads account responded saying like, "Oh no, I think it was somebody on Instagram that was like, oh my god, I read the book and it just like tore me apart. Like I like just from an emotional standpoint, from the violence type of thing. Clearly some heartbreaking moments in this movie too. So the fact that like that's like the second person that's told me that. So I'm eager for this even more. I was like, I said, I've only read the first Hunger Games book. After that, I haven't read anything, but they're like, you need to read this one. You need to read this one. Marcelino says, I just read it too.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Let me know what you think so far. Appreciate you joining us today also. Trying to see if there's any, but yeah, that will do it for all of our honorable mentions here today, y'all. So thank you guys for everybody's patience, and sorry about the technical difficulties to kick our show off. It kind of like delayed us like a good 10 minutes here, so I do apologize about that. But before we get started, look, before we get into our live topics, if you have any live viewer questions, feel free to go ahead and submit them over. They are currently up over on our YouTube page. Go over to our YouTube page, click on the post tab, and you'll see a post for live viewer questions. You can go ahead and submit them over, and then Stuart and I will get to them at the end of the show. But with that out of the way, Stuart, you ready to get into these main topics with me, man?
Always.
Let's do it. Buckle up, guys. If Star Wars makes you kind of sensitive, let's just buckle up this week because we got some incredible topics for Star Wars. We're going to be getting into the Acolyte here a little bit. Leslye Headland sat down and did a great interview with The Wrap. I personally thought had some really telling things to say about her show and it being canceled. We also got the Mandalorian and Grogu conversation as Jon Favreau teases us as to certainly what's to come. We got some other sci-fi news and plenty more, guys. But we kick off with the Acolyte, baby. That's right. The Star Wars Acolyte series that unfortunately got one season. For some people, will probably say fortunately got one season. But if you missed out on the Acolyte, We here at A Plus Hero Report did do our own Jedi Council roundtable debates for each episode. We did our own reviews for each episode, graded the episode, even gave it an overall grade towards the end of the series itself. And if I'm not mistaken, Stuart, I want to say we gave it a B minus. Am I correct on that? Or a B? I can't remember what the grade was.
Yeah, I think it averaged out to a B minus. However, I will say this. I think if I were to have, because I think I gave a lot of benefit of the doubts to a lot of the earlier episodes, because I thought I wanted to see what it was building towards before making judgments on certain plot points. So I think it was one of those things where technically our average might have been bigger, but we dropped it down to a B minus because of what it kind of ended up building up to, not being as big, or not being what we were hoping for, or not being enough to justify the writing in the beginning. I don't remember, but yeah, I think B minus is about right.
Yeah, sometimes it was like a B minus that we wind up giving the Acolyte when we wind up watching it. But if you want to see a breakdown of each of our thoughts in regards to the episodes, because we did grade each episode and then we took the averages out of everything that we saw. And it was always interesting to kind of get everybody's different point of view, because we definitely did have points of views and perspectives of the episode. We didn't all necessarily just get along in regards to how we felt about each episode. It was a really interesting time to be a Star Wars fan, to certainly say the least. But Leslye Headland is in the news here this week. I feel like she's kind of addressed this before, but I feel like this is the most candid that she's kind of ever been in regards to the Acolyte. So let's talk about it, and then we'll give our thoughts in regards to what she says, and maybe just kind of revisit the Acolyte a little bit. So let me go ahead and pull this up. This comes to us from, where you at? The Wrap. Oh, hold on. Let me make sure I got this where I need this to be. Okay. This comes to us from The Wrap. Let me see. Can I pull this up this way? I don't like that view. Okay. Here we go. How Leslye Headland is forging ahead with diverse stories amid industrial rollback, and what really happened with the Acolyte. There is, it says, I don't necessarily know if I want to start off there, but they do actually do like a sit down interview with her. They talk a little bit about her production company that she's recently started, some of the trials and tribulations that she's had in regards to it, and some of the pushback that she's kind of gotten as well, based off of the idea of her being, a queer woman, hiring women also in this particular female-led and doing female-led and diverse projects and stuff, especially based off of where we're at in sort of today's society. So the struggles of that. So it does go on here, and I think this is pretty interesting, because she does say, how do you forge ahead with your production company, with it being a female-led and diverse projects? She says, I did start to feel that when my Star Wars show came out. She says, I remember thinking, oh gosh, I wish it wasn't coming out in an election year, which I think is interesting. She says, I think that's contributed to the move away from DEI hires, and I would say we're not a company that's interested necessarily in that. And the article goes on to say there were a lot of unfair vitriol about the Acolyte online, and for it to be the first Star Wars show to be publicly canceled, Lucasfilm had never done that. So this is what she says. She says, really, the whole thing with the Acolyte was always a major risk. So she does recognize what she was doing was very risky. It was a new part of the timeline. It was all new characters. It was part of the lore where you couldn't use Stormtrooper. You didn't have the reference of the politics and war that Tony Gilroy has brilliantly exploited in such a genuous way in Andor. But all that iconography and all those visual references are original trilogy references. And our references were the High Republic novels and the publishing initiative, and then the prequel specifically with the lightsabers. I also think that any gripes creatively with the show are completely valid. That's people's reaction. It's usually their reaction to their own reaction. But like I said, the show is always a risk. It's the old adage of the first one through the wall is the bloodiest. And this is very similar to coming back to your question about the company. It was just very much, let's shoot for the sky. Let's just go for it. And so I have no regrets. I'm absolutely obsessed with Star Wars. I still am. I love my show. I know that it was wonderful. And honestly, the designers that worked on the show are more responsible for it, because what Star Wars is, creating that world is honestly harder than creating the narrative and the dialogue and the characters, that stuff I've done. It's more hiring the right people, and all those people are brilliant. you know, I do want to focus on some of the things that she said here. I would completely agree in regards to the Acolyte being a risk. I mean,
Mhm.
the concept of, you have this new High Republic initiative that has been, I personally would think, rather successful in regards to, on the novel side of things, creating this timeline. But then you're asking fans who have been so established in something like the prequels and the original trilogy, um, to now kind of, I don't want to say suspend their disbelief, but now be thrusted into sort of a new era of the universe that they may not necessarily be kind of familiar with. But one of the things that she does say in here that I would agree with is that the production designers really did a remarkable job of creating. I thought some of the set designs looked relatively well. The costume designs really worked for me, especially in regards to the Jedi robes and things like that, especially like when they're on their mission. Like the first time that we see the Jedi come on board the spaceship in the first episode, and it's the two Jedi. They look very regal. They got really clean Jedi outfits. Like being able to create that world at times. Um, Felt very much lived in. Now, there are some set pieces I will say that, based off of, like, if you're gonna again compare it to what you got from Andor, that had the ability to kind of shoot on locations, there is limitations that you have with being able to film on set or in the volume. And there certainly were times where you felt like, oh yeah, this is definitely filmed on set. Like you can kind of feel it a little bit. And maybe it took you out of that because of the fact that we're so used to Star Wars being so cinematic in that regards. But I do think creatively she is right that the designers really did do a lot of heavy lifting to make us feel a little bit more comfortable in that world. But I totally understand what she says when she mentions Acolyte being a risk, and I love her what she says here. The first one through the door is usually the bloodiest, because I will be even more fascinated to now see, while the Acolyte took us to pre-prequels, we're gonna get a movie like Sean Levy's that's now gonna branch out on a completely different timeline and a completely new set of characters. And how will the fans react to something like that? Has the Acolyte taken all the blows to where now when Sean Levy's movie comes out, it's not as bloody? Like people are a little bit more okay with the idea of us taking that risk to tell a story outside of what we're used to. But I find some of the things she's saying here kind of interesting. She's clearly not putting blame on anybody. She clearly accepts the criticisms as valid. But I do find what she say fascinating in here.
Yeah. The okay, so here's something, because like, yeah, I do think that most of the costumes and set designs, and especially the makeup, actually that was one of the things I really liked about
Yeah.
having Crystal Kyber on our show when we were talking about the show, is that because she, is a specialist in makeup, like she was able to point out things that even I didn't really notice about it. So I absolutely thought, like, a lot of the production was great, except for the Jedi Temple, and that's where, in fact, I think, yeah, like people are talking about, like, yeah, so they say the costumes look very cheap. Well, I disagree, or sets and costumes look cheap. Well, I disagree
Some
with
of
the
the sets.
costumes. I think
Yeah.
the
Some of them.
costumes look great. But man, the Jedi Temple set, I don't know why. I don't know if it's because, like, they had very limited space in the sound stage, or because I don't think it was COVID restrictions at that point anymore. But
I don't
it
know.
felt like it was too empty at times, and just felt so much smaller. It just, yeah, it just didn't feel like the same Jedi Temple that we saw in the prequels. Which I know, like, you could say that, oh well, that's 500. Wait, No, 100 years after the events of the show, so maybe it just got bigger. But I don't know, because the Jedi Temple has been around for thousands and thousands of years. So it seems weird to me that it would only just like get a little bit bigger within that 100 years. And plus, like, regardless of like how much bigger it might have gotten in that time period, it still shouldn't be as empty. You know, the amount of Jedi they had back then and they had in the prequel should have still been around the same. So I don't know. That was just my nitpick about the settings, because I think everything else looked really great.
Yeah, the the Jedi outpost or whatever that they kind of visited, where it looked almost like, I don't want to say like a hut, but like a little a little building that they go into. I was like, what is this supposed to be? Then again, I think we expect maybe every Jedi outpost or place that they go to look kind of elaborate and big. But I do remember us busting on one of the Jedi outposts that they visited to try and find one of the other fellow Jedi that like eventually killed himself. But yeah, it almost felt like even in the Jedi Temple stuff on Coruscant, it almost felt like some of the sets were just reused, but just like from different angles at times. Like it just, but yeah, when she says honestly, the designers that worked on the show, like the idea of creating the world is honestly harder than creating the narrative. I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Yeah.
What was the experience for you to see the show not only get attacked but weaponized by certain parts of media? And I think this is a pretty eye-opening situation, perspective that she has here. So let's break this down. She says, I have thought about this and I don't want to go on a tangent, so I'll stick to the personal rather than the professional. I was not online. However, I am a Star Wars fan, which means I have always been, since the launch of YouTube, part of the Star Wars recap, criticism, lionization fandom community. These guys I've known for years and years. So when I got the information from others about what the weather report was, there was a real concern from friends of mine or coworkers of mine that saddened me. I also was like, I know who these guys are. You don't have to tell me who's talking about it or how bad it is online. I know exactly who they are. I support them on Patreon. There are some of them that I respect, and there are some of them that I think are absolutely snake oil salesmen, just
Mhm.
opportunists. Then, of course, there are the fascists and the racists. So it runs a gambit. It isn't just one thing or the other. So I think that if you're in part of the fandom, you understand the genre and the tone of particular channels and creators. So in some ways, I wasn't surprised. And then other ways, I was disappointed. I think you always do that when you create something. It's just that Star Wars is on a massive level of visibility.
Yeah. I think like that is like one of the most like challenging things about making a Star Wars show now is that like and please note this is not me trying to say that anyone who didn't like the Acolyte falls under this category. That is so far from the truth because there are plenty of people I've gone on this rant before. There are plenty of reasons like the show may have like gotten canceled like apart from the internet, but like there are plenty of people that had very valid criticisms for the show. But I think it's so ignorant when like some people try to pretend that this toxic side of the fandom doesn't exist, that
Doesn't
they're
exist yet.
a side of the fandom that just decides they don't want to watch the show, or that they decided going into the show that they were already going to hate it because of the DEI hires and because like it came off as too woke to them. Let's not deny that there is a portion of the internet that was ready to hate the show before even giving it a chance. And that, yeah, they're like, whether they are snake oil salesmen or actual like like white supremacists and shit, like because there's so many, I can never tell when someone's like grifting or they actually believe the shit that they
That
say.
they're saying, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like I think it's really like again, fair if you don't like the show, fair if you have good criticisms, but don't try and pretend that like everyone who dislikes the show dislikes it for the right reasons, because there is a good chunk of the internet that just wanted to dislike it simply because it didn't star a white cast.
Yeah, and I'm glad that she mentions it, but she
Yeah.
does talk about the idea that there are some people that she respects, especially when it comes to their criticism, right? So she definitely has experienced sort of like the the criticisms, if you will, about her show from people that she clearly trusts, which I'm sure at points when she says it saddened her, I'm pretty sure it's the idea that the people that you do trust with their opinion saying these things about your show can kind of be, disappointing to you, but then also realizing that there is also segments of the Star Wars fandom that just is all over the place too, on the unfortunate side, at times. She also goes on to say, look, that the content that is being put out by the streamers or the studios is being snatched up by these other creators. And so commentaries, synopsises, live videos, all of the ways that these creators make money through viewer-based ad revenues and their patrons. There's a lot of money to be made. And by the way, have at it. Get your coin 100%. But it revealed to me that there is a misunderstanding between the studios and that engagement. They think of it as fandom, and in a ways it is, but studios use it almost like a focus group. It made me start to think, rather than these fans are toxic or this thing is being mean to me, it made me think more that the content being made about Star Wars is ultimately be more culturally impactful than actual Star Wars.
Oh my God.
She
No,
says,
she nailed it with that, honestly.
yeah. She says, I believe we're headed into that space. Those IPs will continue to make money, but I don't know how much they will affect the next generation as much as the content that's being created around those events, IP films, and television shows. Yeah. I mean, I feel like she sees the picture, right?
Yeah.
I feel like she sees the picture of the idea that, like, studios are now seemingly looking at these content creators as, like she says, as sort of like a voice of a focus group, and kind of not necessarily taking into consideration that these people are here to make money, right? Like they're also like, so when she says the studios is being snatched up by these creators or so commentators, doing commentary, synopsis, live videos, all these ways to kind of create money through viewer based ad revenues, there's a lot of money to be made. So incentives for some people are very much in order to make the most money possible. And if that's how you are viewing your business and talking about a particular IP, and that's your goal. And she says, look, that's if that's the way you want to do it, talking about grifters and stuff and people that want to make money off of the backs of Star Wars, hey, get your money. But the fault is now becoming that studios are using this as a focus group, not understanding some of maybe the initiatives that some people certainly have around things, and that what's happening is people talking about Star Wars, the stuff that's being talked about Star Wars is now being more culturally impacted than the actual Star Wars itself. At least that's what I took away from it when she said that. But did you read anything differently from that?
No, that's exactly what I heard. And I think that yeah, she's kind of spot on. In fact, this is actually something that South Park, not fully directly, but kind of indirectly predicted. Like there is this episode where where Kyle really wants to play video games with his little brother Ike, but Ike would rather watch PewDiePie play video games online than actually play video games himself. Like it's a little different, don't get me wrong, but I mean that kind of like, I feel like the metaphor is still kind of similar,
Yeah, absolutely. And that is a proper business model rather than a bunch of mean people. It's a lot more financial than I think people realize. And as somebody that really has supported a lot of these channels financially and with my eyeballs, some of that stuff is probably the only content that younger generation is seeing. Was the cancellation decision shocking to you? Did they explain why? Was it viewership or creative? It was kind of both, she says. I was not surprised by it. I think I was surprised at the swiftness of it and the publicness of it. I was surprised by how it was handled. But once I was getting particular phone calls about the reaction and the criticisms and the viewership, I felt like, okay, the writing's on the wall for sure. The viewership was a little muddled for me because, and this is my understanding, with Star Wars, you're not measured within the marketplace that you happen to be in at the time. You're measured against every other Star Wars show. We hit the Nielsen a couple of times, not every week or anything like that, but a couple times it poked through. I felt like for a launch of the first season show that was trying different things, it could have been worth it to allow the audience it was meant for to find it. But that wasn't up for me. So I fully respect the decision, even if I'm sad about it. Um, you know, it's interesting that she brings this up because one of the articles that came out in regards to the Acolyte viewership, and I don't remember if you remember this, Stuart, the Acolyte was like the biggest Disney Plus original show just behind Percy Jackson and the Olympians. And you would have thought, as big as Percy Jackson and the Olympians is, for Disney Plus to then have a second show that's just as high as that, for Star Wars The Acolyte, instant renewal, right? At least. But when she says you're measured against every other Star Wars show, dude, that just immediately sets you back.
Because that's also saying that she was being compared then to the
book,
Mandalorian.
The Mandalorian?
Yeah. Which, when you look at the time that show came out, I guarantee you, if the Mandalorian season 1 came out at the exact same time as the Acolyte, or sorry, if we switched it, so the Mandalorian came out during the time of the Acolyte, the Mandalorian would not have had the viewership that it had back when it came out originally, because even though you had some of the fans that were really disappointed by The Last Jedi, I would still say that the Star Wars hype was still there. People still wanted more Star Wars, and the Mandalorian gave them exactly what they wanted. I think that if it came out, at the same time as Acolyte, like, I'm not saying the viewership wouldn't have been higher than Acolyte. I'm just saying that it wouldn't have been as high as if they released it when they did,
Yeah, and then you also have to take in consideration too, like the momentum of Star Wars television shows, right? Like, while I think Obi-Wan Kenobi was, maybe mixed reviews in regards to it, I don't know how the viewership of that did. Maybe the viewership was low already, but then you had something like the Book of Boba Fett, whose viewership is probably even lower than that. So you immediately have yourself going on like a downward trajectory in regards to some of the Star Wars content that you're kind of putting out. I don't remember how well Mandalorian season 3 did, but that wind up getting mixed reviews also. So then when you get to something like the Acolyte, and like you've already beaten your Star Wars fan base down with like disappointment after disappointment, or not as good, it's not as good. And maybe the Acolyte doesn't necessarily get the same viewership level as some of those shows. How is it fair to compare to the Acolyte to these other shows after you've sort of dwindled down your own viewership numbers in regards to your Disney Plus content? So it's really unfortunate. I mean, I think she's right in the sense of, with a show that's trying new things, it could have been worth it to allow the audience it was meant for to find it. But they didn't even give that opportunity. And again, that's not to say that again, this is not us defending the Acolyte being an amazing, great show. We have our issues with it for sure, but the idea of a season 2, I think, could have really gone a long way for this show. Budgetary reasons, viewership, people will always argue those two things. Was the Acolyte great? No, it certainly would not. But man, Stuart, I mean, there are a couple of people, just The Stranger alone, that I need to know more about this guy. Like, you literally cannot leave me hanging. He's like one of the best parts of this show. And they don't even necessarily give that an opportunity. So a little bit of a bummer, man. A little bit of a bummer. We do have one other paragraph here. Had you plotted out much ahead in terms of season 2? She says, my showrunner and I had a lot of ideas going into season 1. So we definitely were thinking about it, especially with Manny Jacinto's character. We always knew that Lee Jung-jae was going to be the emotional anchor for the first season, watching the deterioration of that father figure, which was a great storyline, I thought, for the show. So we had already thought ahead and thought about what type of relationship we wanted to look in at the second season. We had talked about a lot of that from the thematic and character standpoint, but in terms of actual narrative, there was only a couple signposts that we knew we wanted to hit.
Mhm.
So, um, I don't know, Stuart. Hearing all that, how do you feel about it, man? Is it I feel like we understand the cancellation of the Acolyte, but is there a part of you after we've had time to step back and kind of see how this has all transpired, other Star Wars content coming out since then? Do you feel like the show got robbed? Do you feel like we should have gotten a season 2 at least, or are you still I'm okay with no more Acolyte ever again?
I think with how much they invested in the show, they should have given it at least one more season, at the very least. Just because the thing is, man, and I've said this before, there was a period of time where a lot of shows had a very rough first season, and it was just common that like a show would kind of get its footing like as it went on. But I think that one of the big problems that I totally agree with people having with streaming services, the way TV is now, is that if it's not like a major hit, if it's not the exact numbers the studios want to see, then it's like that it hits the chopping block like way too fast, I think. So I think that was the case with this. Like, I don't think the show was great, but I think there was still potential. I think that like the things that they set up for season 2 were pretty cool, and I think that it could have. Okay, here's a funny example that I'm going to use of another show I had very similar feelings for until one particular moment in season 2. Have you watched the show Interview with a Vampire?
I'm not watched the show, no.
Okay. Really like the show. But that didn't happen until season 2. Like season 1, I thought, okay, yeah, that was interesting. And then like entire first half of season 2, I'm like, man, this is starting to feel very repetitive. This is getting kind of boring. But then there was just one really big twist at the halfway point that recontextualized the entire show and made me suddenly like go, oh my God, this is amazing. Because this whole time I thought I was watching one thing, but then this one episode completely contextualized how you saw everything beforehand, and suddenly you realize, oh, this is not the type of show that I thought I was watching. And I feel like that's what Acolyte could have done. I feel like if Acolyte had gone on for one more season, they could have had a moment like that. And I think it was just kind of robbed of its opportunity to really win fans over. Because again, like she says, this is, it's not like they were doing this one episode at a time and hearing what people were saying, being able to make adjustments, because the whole season was finished filming by the time they
Right.
were releasing it on
Right.
Disney Plus.
Mhm.
So I feel like, she like there was plenty of opportunities for the showrunners, for Leslye, to like listen to like what the actual like not asshole grifter fans were saying, and like actually figure out kind of a way to like keep her vision, but also kind of like, how can I make this more appealing to a wider base of fans, or how can I tune the show up just the right amount. I feel like that the show was kind of robbed of this opportunity to get a chance to do so. And for all I know, yeah, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Maybe season 2 would have come out and would have been the worst thing ever released since Rise of Skywalker. But we don't know, and it's too bad that we'll never know for sure.
Yeah, it is unfortunate, man. It really is unfortunate. I would agree. I do feel like the show certainly got robbed. It kind of reminds me of like, like CW shows at least, always had like that mid-season break sort of thing. They might have, still been writing some of the episodes, or like filming some of the episodes, even though they were kind of like some of the episodes already began kind of airing and stuff. And so you can kind of see like some of the criticisms that people were getting, and maybe kind of make subtle changes as the season kind of goes along. I would agree with you in that regards too. The idea that streaming service is just significantly different nowadays, in the sense that you really do have to come out of the gate swinging. And she took her swings. Some unfortunate misses. She definitely took big swings here, but the idea of how we are in streaming services compared to how we used to digest and view television has significantly changed, and it doesn't really give these people an opportunity to make those changes that they need to in order to turn their series around. And so, the budget, I think, was probably a really big issue here too. But I do think that even if you get the criticisms from season one, you can readjust your budget. Some of these big name actors certainly weren't going to come back, so I think contractually you probably save some money too. You probably are reusing some of the sets that you've already done. You probably already have some of your visual effects kind of in place from season one that you can then utilize again for season two that would have automatically kind of knocked down the budget. So I do think that there are places for Acolyte season two where financially they probably could have saved themselves a little bit more money and not have it be as risky, but at the same time really push forward on the subplots and the storylines and the characters that really did work sort of for season one. So yeah, it is definitely unfortunate, but I think this article just speaks to, I think, a Star Wars fandom sort of as a whole, and how the studio kind of views us, people that do commentaries or criticisms or live reactions and things like that, that we clearly do have a voice and we clearly do move the needle when it comes to what people behind the scenes think and do. And I think in that feels very 50-50 to me at times, because while I do think that there are instances where fans certainly should have a voice to express how they feel about a particular show, I think it is important. I think even us as fans, as to not only how we support people, but just to be very aware of who the people in these spaces truly are. And I think not just for us as fans when we intake Star Wars content, but also for studios. Like if the studios are really utilizing this space as focus groups, I think that's terrible. Like I think that's terrible truly for for the studio in the sense of and for the franchise in that regards, because I do think you have to have people that you certainly trust that are giving you these creative criticisms to make changes for the good. And if you're literally just taking people that have millions of subscribers and are literally like dunking on a show because they are part of this grifter mentality and are simply there to kind of make their money, I think a studio needs to be aware of who those people are also, and if you can take those criticisms as equally as you can others. And if you're looking at it as one big focus group, I think you're really doing yourself a detriment, and that leads us to not taking big risks, not doing new things, not revisiting the High Republic in live action, despite there maybe being really great stuff to adapt from that particular time era. Um, and it really just continues to shrink in the franchise and what you can kind of do creatively. Um, so a little bit disturbing to hear what Leslie has to reveal in regards to how studios view the fan community, how they view their input. I'm glad that she's knowledgeable, at least to recognize those that are being truthful in their criticisms and people that are out there just to kind of make money. Again, she's not defending her show. Like she clearly understands and is saddened by what the quote unquote weather report certainly was from people that she certainly trusted. So she knew that there were definitely changes that need to be made. But for a studio to hear the louder voices that may or may not be the majority and include them in a focus group as to where do you go from here to kind of help cut a show down even further outside of the difficulties that the show already had against it. I would agree with you, Stuart, in the sense that this show definitely got robbed of an opportunity to build upon things, because now it's like people have been asking for Darth Plagueis in live action. We got him, but now we can't do shit with them. Like, what are we gonna do with them going forward? We got one of the coolest characters in The Stranger in regards to his connection to Venestra. That's now never gonna get explained. We got the political intrigue that hit very late in this show that I think perked up a lot of our ears in regards to how the senators or the people in politics, or maybe even people in that bigger world, kind of viewed the Jedi and have their worries. Maybe that's not going to get explained for this particular time period anymore, right? Like there's just so many great opportunities that now what we have to maybe read them in comic books, maybe have to pick up a novel to kind of get more intel and more information, and that's good and all. But Lucasfilm and Disney have got to allow Star Wars to take chances. And even if it doesn't necessarily hit on the first go, you got to give these creators the opportunity to grow and actually find their audience, find their creative stride in regards to really uh, allowing these characters to breathe life into their world and create something new and unique. And when you start canceling it and chopping these creatives down at their kneecaps immediately just because it doesn't hit at first, I do think you do a detriment to the franchise in regards to what is possible, what is capable. And this does make me like really cross my fingers that somebody like a Sean Levy, on the bloody footsteps of Leslye Headland and the Acolyte, can now take sort of that risk and maybe not have as much of a blowback as this show did in regards to showcasing that yes, we can explore new timelines. But yeah, it's the future of Star Wars franchise is going to be rather interesting, Stuart.
Definitely. And I can't wait to see a certain YouTuber look at this article and decide to make it all about himself.
Yeah. Oh, she's talking about us, guys. She's talking about the fans again. She's talking like she's talking about all of us, guys. No, she's not talking about me, bro. Okay, she ain't talking about Stuart. She ain't talking about this channel. All right, nothing that she said offended us in any way whatsoever. I think she spoke a lot of hard truth and an eye-opening truth that I think, like you said, a particular side of YouTube is going to feel attacked on, because maybe she's caught on to y'all. She's caught on to y'all, and she's blowing the whistle on what some people say. So like when people call us shills for being, positive or about a Disney show, they're just as much of a shill in the form of a grifter for YouTube in order to make that money. Just always remember that. So pick your people wisely in regards to where you get your criticisms from.
Yeah, indeed.
But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to what Leslye Headland certainly had to say. Hashtag renew the Acolyte, guys. Renew the Acolytes. At least I certainly would love that. But we are going to stay in the world of Star Wars, because we do have a new Star Wars coming out, guys. That's right. A live action Star Wars film is upon us. It's been quite some time since we've had ourselves one, but The Mandalorian and Grogu, baby, is here. Going from 3 seasons on Disney Plus to now turning into a live action film here, opening up its scale, its size, exploring new avenues of the universe here. This week we had Jon Favreau discuss a little bit with I think Empire Magazine in regards to kind of teasing and looking forward to what The Mandalorian and Grogu is really going to give us here. Look, I'm gonna be honest, Stuart. One of the criticisms I hear a lot in regards to The Mandalorian and Grogu is you're just giving us a TV show on the big screen, man. It's just a TV show on the big screen. I think a lot of people are expecting what they see on the show to just kind of be repeated and just kind of, maybe put some flair to it or something like that. And like, here we go. So I think some people probably find this a little bit creatively lazy in regards to Lucasfilm, but I would think that Jon Favreau might say otherwise, Stuart. So let's go into this one. This is I got 2 articles here for you guys. The first one here is going to be from Star Wars Newsnet. They do a great job in regards to getting a bunch of Star Wars news and putting it all out on their website. Jon Favreau talks turning planned 4th season into a theatrical film. It says, now that the story was continuing on the big screen, however, was the show that kicked off the live action Star Wars TV coming to an end? It says here, if this internet would there we go. Now we have at least a partial answer. Speaking with Empire Magazine, Favreau gave fans hints about Din's motivations in the film, as well as themes of the story we'll explore. He also talked about how he and Filoni initially planned on making a fourth season of the show before deciding to pivot to a movie instead. He says, "We were planning on doing a fourth season. I had actually written all of that. I still have season 4 sitting on my desk here." He went on to note, though, that The Mandalorian and Grogu was designed to be its own thing. He says, "It's structured around a movie structure as opposed to a serialized weekly television show. So there's a larger throw to the whole thing." It seems fans of the streaming show will get to see the story its creators intended for them, just in a different medium. Whether the change in the format ultimately benefits the story or not remains to be seen. The mere idea of seeing Din and Grogu on an IMAX screen is surely exciting for many viewers, and the movie will certainly include plenty of action-packed spectacle. On the other hand, there are also benefits to a longer runtime a television show provides as well. So, according to John Favreau here, Stuart, um, season 4 has been written. It is certainly on his desk. I don't know if this interview, I am kind of curious as to whether or not you feel this interview implies that season 4 has just been turned into a movie script, or if season 4 is its own kind of thing. But he does go on to say that, like, structure wise, this movie is a movie. Like, it's not gonna be the same structure as a weekly serialized episode. So it's definitely gonna be sort of its own thing here. How do you feel about his comments, and what do you think about season 4 in general?
Yeah, like I'm glad that they do acknowledge the idea that, making a television show structure and making a movie structure are very different things. And that, yeah, I think that, like, one thing that he said is he talks about the runtime, which I remember, like, with Mandalorian as a show, that was always something that I kind of had like an issue with some episodes, is they'd be so short, and I kind of would wish that they were longer, so like certain stories could be like fleshed out more. So I think that is one benefit that we're going to have with the movie. I am also like, I'm just kind of curious, I think more than anything, of what about this story feels like it needs to be told on the big screen compared to, like, whatever it is that they have going on in season 4. Are the stakes just going to be that much bigger, or is it just that much more of a longer emotional journey? So yeah, I gotta be honest, I don't have too much to say, because I think the biggest thing is that it's hard, because we still don't know too much about this. I can say that, like, the trailer, when I first watched it, it definitely felt too much like I was just watching the trailer for season 4, because it's not that the special effects looked bad. It's just that the effects in the show were already so good that watching this trailer for the movie, it didn't feel like it was that much more impressive than what we had already gotten on the small screen with the TV show. But yeah, I'm sure that's something that could change, like, over time, as we get more trailers and we actually see the movie when it comes out. But yeah, I think it's but yeah, I do believe, as of now, I take John Favreau at his word when he says that, yeah, this isn't meant to, this isn't structured the same way that the show is, that it is structured for a movie, like a cinematic experience. Like, I'll definitely take him at his word for now about that, because I'm not going to say that he wouldn't do a cash grab if he had the opportunity, but he is the kind of guy that knows how to take a cash grab and do something really cool with it. So even if this movie is a cash grab, I still think that there's a chance it could still be a lot of fun.
I gotta say, I personally find what he's saying really reassuring,
Mm.
personally. Um, because at least I'm hoping that it's reassuring to some fans, because you know John Favreau is no slouch when it comes to directing cinema. I mean, he's got a couple movies under his belt that I personally find really great and enjoyable. I mean, we could talk about um, um, Iron Man all day. He also did Chef, if I'm not mistaken, where he played the chef. I'm sure there's
Yeah.
probably a couple other ones that he's directed or at least took part in helping write. Oh, Elf. Elf was a fantastic movie. Um, so I mean, this is a guy that if he tells me that this is set up as a movie structure, I'm under the impression that this is going to feel very different from a Mandalorian television series. I'm glad that you brought up the trailer, Stuart, because I would agree with you. When we watch the trailer feels like just another episode. But I think that speaks to the quality of the show more so than the quality of the movie in regards to Star Wars puts a lot of money behind the Mandalorian to make it look great. And so to kind of be able to take what you've done from this television series and now expand upon that, I'm kind of hoping that they look. I don't know how if they filmed anything on location, if this is still all set design, if this is on a studio lot, if this is a lot of volume usage or not. I'm kind of hoping that it's not as heavy-handed from the television show, but if there's anybody with the experience like John Favreau that can take a television show about characters that he knows very well. It's not like he's coming on board to this show for the to this movie for the first time and not know these characters. Like these are his characters. So for him to be able to take an adventure and turn it into a thematic sort of experience, um, because of the fact that it's not an episodic show, it's not like we've got this point to hit, this point to hit, and this point to hit by the end of the show. Like, no, you've got different acts that have to build up to certain other things before you get to the climax. And if there's anybody that I think can put this together to make a very well told story in the Star Wars universe, John Favreau telling me that this is a movie production and not a serialized weekly television show makes me think he's in his movie making bag. And if that's the case, he wants this to feel like a Star Wars movie. And when you get somebody like Sigourney Weaver and somebody like Zeb from the Rebels included in here, which just from the teaser trailer and that brief moment of action that we've had the opportunity to see him in, I think this could turn out to be more compelling, I think, than people are giving it the opportunity to be as of right now. It's definitely going to be a wait and see, but it does make me feel a little bit more comfortable with the idea of these characters being on screen. I think it'll really all come down to the execution of it, though. How do you introduce these characters to people who maybe have never watched the Mandalorian show and feel like they can jump on board and get that immediate sort of connection with these characters within an hour and a half and 2 hours? And how do you keep it fresh for people that have seen 3 seasons of it to now be on the big screen? I would agree with you. The story has to be big enough. And I don't know if that just means, hey, let's just put season 4 on the big screen. What he says to me kind of implies that there is a season 4 written, but that this is something else. But maybe people read into that a little bit differently than I do. But yeah.
Yeah, it's something that we'll definitely have to wait and see. I think like the other thing too of why my excitement isn't as high as I wish it would be is just when it came to the Mandalorian season 3. To me, the Mandalorian season 3 was just kind of like, I don't want to say it was like a huge disappointment, but man, it's just like you went from like season 1 and 2, which to me were both like S tier in terms of Star Wars properties, and then you just went to a C tier with season 3. It's still fun, I'll still watch it, but like, yeah, it definitely didn't have that oomph that season 1 and 2 had. So that is something that I do hope that this movie can bring back. I wanted to bring back my excitement for Mandalorian. Hopefully, like after the movie, I'm my first thing is, when is season 4 going to start?
Yeah, I mean, will this transition to back to television, or will it now be stay on the big screen? I think that probably will depend on maybe what it makes financially at the box office. But while there are aspects to the Bo-Katan storyline and the Fight for a Mandalore storyline that I was intrigued by, there's something about that Jack Black and Lizzo episode I can't get out of my head. It was like forever scarred me. in regards to the quality of the show and kind of like how it embodied how in season 3 is embodied, and looked at.
Yeah.
He also does give us at least a little bit of a hint too as to the themes between some of these characters going forward in the movie. He says this is the Empire article. Grogu and the Mandalorian, two of the most beloved characters in the latest generation of Star Wars stories, are finally going cinematic with a bigger mission than ever before as Din Djarin teams up with the former rebels of Adelphi base. Favreau says the Mandalorian has changed his priorities. One of the last things we say in season 3 is like, I don't want to go out there and just be a hired gun. I want to work for the good guys. That means receiving work from Sigourney Weaver's Colonel Ward and working with Zeb Orrelios from Star Wars Rebels and briefly seen in Mando season 3. Now we really get to have fun with Zeb. He's such a compelling character, even if you've never seen Rebels, between the voice, the swagger, and the physical ability. The focus, though, as Din Djarin and Grogu anchor the first Star Wars film in several years, is on our two heroes. That central relationship as they go off and face an adventure together, that's the underpinning of the film. Star Wars is always about progression and growth and characters evolving, sometimes for the good, sometimes for the bad. It's about apprenticeship. It's about one generation teaching the next. There's more growth that happens over the course of the film, is what he says. So, not just doesn't sound necessarily feel like our characters will necessarily be the same from when they start this movie to the end. It definitely feels like there's going to be more progression, and there's already sort of father and son dynamic that we have between the two. Stuart, if I gotta be honest, man, I I need Grogu in a Mando suit. By the end of this movie, I need whoever the costume designer is to have worked their ass off to kind of create some sort of Mandalorian armor for Grogu by the end of this. It will be interesting to see where Grogu ends at the end of this. Does he still want to do this apprenticeship with Mando? It seems like that's the case. They feel like very father and son living with each other on the ranch at the end of season 3 and whatever the case, maybe eating frogs by the pond, right? Seems like everything in their life is kind of going really well. So I am kind of curious as to if there will be a conflict or what that conflict will be, maybe between the two of them or the relationship and bond that these two certainly have. Any fan theories where they may end up? Do you want to see Grogu go back to Luke? Do you want to see him get his Mandalorian armor and continue to progress in this world here? Any thoughts on it?
I do want to see Grogu have like a new armor set. I don't know about Grogu going back to Luke because I feel like they already kind of um I feel like we've already kind of exhausted the fan service story aspects of the Mandalorian, especially with Book of Boba Fett.
Right.
So I don't necessarily want him to go back to the Jedi or anything like that, but I do want to see the Mandalorian armor. I do think there are a couple creative ways you can definitely make armor around his overall design. I like that we already got him wearing the chainmail at the moment, which is cool, like underneath his robe. So I wouldn't mind seeing them kind of like add on to that. Like I think it'd be kind of cool, like giving him a cute tiny little helmet, like maybe one that doesn't cover his ears, but one that kind of like covers maybe the top half of his face,
Yeah. Yeah.
something that could look menacing in the dark, but then the moment you turn the lights on, you see his like adorable little eyes, and you're
ears.
like, "Aw, yeah."
Yeah. I would love to see it. I need a Grogu Mandalorian armor set by the end of this, man. I need a pop figure and everything out of this one. So we'll see how it goes. But look, guys, we want to know your thoughts. Jon Favreau discusses the Mandalorian and Grogu. Does it feel reassuring for you guys? Where would you like to see these two characters by the end of this movie? Should we still get a season 4? Since that script is just sitting on his desk, or do you think this will stick in the theaters if successful? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section box below. So from one sci-fi franchise, Stuart, to the next, we transition over to Star Wars to another Star series, if you will, as it's been a minute since we've had ourselves a Stargate series, coming off the backs of a classic 1990 Stargate movie. branched out into a franchise of television series from Stargate SG-1 that ran for forever, it felt like, on the Sci-Fi Channel. Eventually getting a spinoff in Stargate Atlantis, and then getting a follow-up spinoff, Stargate Universe, that I think only might have ran for like 1 or 2 seasons, if I'm not mistaken. But Stargate Universe wrapped up way back in 2011. And if there's any franchise that your boy has been pleading for and begging for to certainly return, it has been that of Stargate. I think we might have had maybe one spinoff or like one short film that was released a few years back that barely got anybody's like notice or recognition. I personally didn't even catch it myself. But guys, if you've been waiting patiently, as I have, for Stargate to return, your patience has paid off. That's right. According to some new reports here from Deadline and Variety and others, a Stargate TV series from Martin Gero, based on the sci-fi franchise, has been ordered by Amazon. That's right. Stargate is back. Looks like Amazon MGM had purchased the rights for Stargate a long time ago when they did that merger with MGM, and this was part of their property that they wind up acquiring. And they are not holding back. They are ready to go ahead and launch a brand new series here. Amazon MGM Studios has greenlit another series based on the popular MGM IP, giving the series order to Stargate for Prime Video. The new installment is the classic sci-fi franchise, comes from Martin Gero, who is a Stargate veteran and veteran showrunner who created NBC's Blind Spot. Stargate was among the first MGM titles identified for series or film adaptations following Amazon's $8.5 billion acquisition for the storied Hollywood studio. It says Gero will serve as creator, writer, executive producer, and showrunner of Stargate. Executive producers also include Joby Harold and Tori Tunnell, as well as Dean Devlin and Roland Emmerich, the duo behind the 1994 Stargate movie. We also have Brad Wright and Joe Malozzi, longtime creative leaders within Stargate TV universe, will serve as consulting producers. So a lot of the big heavy hitters from the original movie and from some of the past Stargate television shows will return to help launch this. It says 20 years ago, my first real job in television was a story editor on Stargate Atlantis. I spent 5 years at that franchise working across all 3 series. Stargate taught me everything about making television. It's written into my DNA, Gero says. I'm beyond thrilled that Amazon MGM Studios has entrusted me with guiding this incredible franchise into its next phase. For those who kept the gate active through conventions, rewatches, and unwavering faith, this one's for you. And for those that are new to our world, I promise you're in for something extraordinary. Stargate is a military sci-fi franchise that centers on the Stargate, an ancient ring-shaped device that creates a stable wormhole, enabling near instantaneous travel across the cosmos. Yeah. Stuart, I'm so fucking pumped. I'm so excited, bro. I am so excited. I don't know if I've talked much about Stargate on this show or not. Or Stargate, I feel like has not really even ever popped up in regards to the news to even give us something worthy to even talk about until today. But I literally could not be more excited for this. I do want to bring up I'm gonna bring this down real quick. I'm hoping that this will let me stream this. This was from give me 1 second here.
Welcome everyone. We have a very special Stargate announcement.
Let me see here. I'm trying I don't think I shared the audio for this. Hold on. This is the official announcement for the return of Stargate.
Welcome everyone. We have a very special Stargate announcement.
This has been a very hard secret to keep for the last 18 months, but we can announce today that a brand new Stargate series is coming to Prime Video.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's so rare for the original creators to get to work on the new version of a show. This is a show for everyone, everywhere.
We're going to be able to do things that we could not do in 1997. I strongly feel that the fans will watch this show and say, this is Stargate.
In that 25-year span, their enthusiasm for Stargate has never waned.
The one question that I think so many fans are asking, is this going to be a reboot?
It is not a reboot. It's its own unique chapter in the Stargate universe. So, of course, we're making the show for the fans, of course, but we're also making it for people that have never watched Stargate and potentially don't have a sci-fi franchise they even like. For us, it's really important that a brand new audience can come in, and then if they love it, then they can go back and watch everything else. But we're back. It's happening. It's going to be incredible.
This has been a group of people who has always been there for the fans and not cut them out of the process.
Thank you for bringing this straight to the fans. And I think I can speak for fandom. Thank you for Stargate in the future as well.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, we'll talk soon.
So yeah, Stargate is back, baby. Stargate is back, Stuart. Man, you know, I did chuckle when they said, you know, this could be a show for people that don't have a sci-fi series that they like. Like if there's like maybe you're not a Trekkie, right? Maybe you're not big into Star Wars either, but maybe there's a segment of like sci-fi that you kind of do enjoy. Like Stargate to me always felt so fresh and just so original. The concept of being able to take these portals to like cross galaxies far, far away, plop yourself onto just new planets, new civilizations. I mean, I guess it's like teleporting for Star Trek in a sense, almost without the travel in between. But the instantaneousness of it, the Stargate was always sort of like an iconic design, I think, in sci-fi. This big like whirlpool of water sort of thing that like busts out when the gates initiate and open up that you walk through, and just seeing like the cool special effects of going into the gate for the first time and then it plopping you out onto the other side of things. You know, the idea of this being like military based, not necessarily like space goers or astronauts and things like that. It's literally just a mixture of scientists and military people that are going out to discover certainly what's out there. And Stargate, the fact that I think Stargate might have had like 8 seasons, maybe more, maybe like 10 seasons for SG-1, that was like based off of the back of the guy that played MacGyver. I can't remember his name off the top of my head. Richard Dean Anderson, is that his name? I think you're muted.
Oh, sorry, I didn't realize it was muted. I actually forgot who played MacGyver.
I think it's Richard Dean Anderson. I could be wrong. He was always a damn charmer to me, which made me even like the show even more. The characters were always had really great chemistry with each other. You had your Worf-like character in Teal'c. I can't remember who the guy wind up playing. You know, another like an alien that wind up joining on with these humans, sort of thing. They always just had really compelling storylines year to year to year. Really great connective tissue as a whole, to be able to see them branch out into other series. I believe this is even where Jason Momoa got his start in the Stargate spinoff series Atlantis, that had them find the you know, the lost city of Atlantis, set up a base there. Now you got new creatures and new characters. It almost felt like Doctor Who meets Star Trek in some sort of like really weird fashion, mixed in with a little bit more originality too, of just different alien races and the instantaneous travel and whatnot. I was always really fascinated with this show, and it was always one that I never felt like it was trying to be something else. Great humor, great action, great drama. I love this show. So for it to finally be back since 2011, like 15 years ago, almost 14. Well, by the time the show comes out, maybe 15, 16 years ago. I think there's a space for Stargate for sure. And I think people that have missed the show are going to be coming back in droves. And I hope that what's encouraging to me is the fact that we have a lot of the returning veterans from this world that know this world, know the tone of it. And now that they probably will have a bigger budget because it's on Amazon MGM or Amazon Prime, which is really encouraging to me. I think that they're really going to allow them to do things that they weren't capable of before. And so I'm expecting them to push the envelope. And I'll be interested to see if there's any returning cast members that come back at all, maybe in any cameos, but really who the solid like crew of like 4 or 5 on this show are certainly going to be. Because I think if anything, the cast I think I fell more in love with than anything on this show. So if they can capture that magic again, Stargate could be a great show. But Stuart, what's your relationship with Stargate? I don't know. We've never really talked about this show on this channel before because there's never really been any news. What is your relationship with Stargate? Have you watched the show at all? Any of the spin-off series outside of the classic 1994 movie, which I've seen more times than I can count? What are your thoughts on just this franchise and the idea of it now being ordered as a series?
I'm about to disappoint you, man. I've never
Oh
seen
my
it.
God.
I've actually I haven't even seen the Stargate movie. I know.
Oh my God.
You know, and what's funny is that I wanted to say we've talked about it before, but as I think back on it, it's either this one or another sci-fi classic that I have not watched a single episode on, being Battlestar Galactica. So I think
that's right. Yeah, that one too.
So I wasn't sure if so like when we were talking about this and you were bringing it up, I'm not sure if we talked about the show on before. I wanted to say we have, but then I remembered, wait, no, that may have been Battlestar Galactica because I tend to get those two sci-fi shows.
You're thinking Battlestar
again, just because I haven't watched either of them. I keep in mind I have no doubt for the quality of both of them, especially with Stargate Atlantis, because my sister was obsessed with that show. She absolutely loved Stargate Atlantis, collected all the DVDs of the show. So I have no doubt that it's a great show. It's just something I haven't had the chance to get into, but you know what? I might check out this reboot, and depending on how I like it, I might use that as an excuse to finally like start getting into the franchise. You know, because again, it's something that's been on my radar, just like Battlestar Galactica, but I haven't gone out of my way to see it. But you know, I do love when a long running sci-fi like this, when a show like this can still be kept alive, assuming that it's done for the right reasons. And from the interview that you read to us, and from what we saw in the video that you played, it does seem like this is a reboot that's coming from people. I know they didn't call it a reboot, but technically by definition it is, because reboot can still be in continuity. Reboot can still it just, for it to be a reboot, it has to be kind of like a fresh new like kind of slate, and that's kind of what it seems like it is. It doesn't ignore anything that happened before, but it is still kind of a fresh new show. So I will call it a reboot even if the showrunners don't. But that being said, I think that what's cool is that reboots like this, keeping sci-fi shows alive. It's like one of the things that I love about Star Trek is I love that Star Trek is a show that I think will still exist 20, 30 years from now, because you'll always have fans like me who will then become writers, and then they're going to be the ones that want to continue that legacy. So I love seeing when shows like that, like with Stargate, when you have that fandom that's so attached to it that they just want to keep it going like year after year. And again, as long as it's done for the right reasons, as long as it's not like a studio, just doing it for the cash grab, as long as you got like the right people behind it, I'm always for these type of remakes or these type of reboots.
Yeah, I get what you're saying for a reboot. I still kind of view it as more like a revival than anything, in the sense of like reviving the series. It doesn't feel like this is like it feels like, just based on how they talk about it, that it still will have connective tissues to the past, but maybe further out. So you do have maybe brand new characters, brand new settings, brand new characters. Maybe with the initial connection to some things in the past. I'm really, really kind of hopeful for. But I will say, Stuart, since you've never really watched Stargate, I would say start off with the 1994 Stargate movie.
Mm-hmm.
So you get the premise behind it, because Stargate SG-1 is the first season based outside of the movie is literally like a continuation from the movie itself. or at least it's got some connective tissues to it. So I would definitely watch the 1994 one. I think what's his name? Robert Emmerich. What was his name? Roland Emmerich. I believe he look this up for me. I think Roland Emmerich might have been like even behind like Independence Day, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh yeah, no, like Roland Emmerich is a fascinating director because I feel like he hit his peak in the 90s and then like he made Godzilla and then he's never gotten back up since then.
Yeah, and Stargate was one of those movies, like peak Roland, I think, in regards to like putting it out just at the right time in the 90s when he was hot. I don't know if this was before or after Independence Day, but Stargate was definitely an original project that I think just won sci-fi fans over. And so the fact that they went on to make so many seasons of the show kind of shocked me that it stayed around for as long as it did, but the quality was always there. So just take it in mind, if you do watch this Stargate SG-1 series where it begins, it does feel a little dated because of the time period it was kind of in. So don't try not to hold that against it too much. But it was still a great series, man, and just continued to get better, I thought, each season. So fans rejoice. Stargate is coming back. There's no release date yet, but it seems as though they've got themselves a pretty good base of people to go ahead and get this stuff rolling. Tony Robinson says, damn, Amazon is home of classic action shows. Yeah, Amazon, I don't know if it's just the MGM pickup and they've got all this property and these really cool IPs, but I think Amazon is really hitting the button, I think, on what a lot of people are really wanting these days, or at least like tapping into like the millennials' heart, if you will, of like these old early, late 80s, early 90s sort of projects and like reviving them, whether they be like cartoons, old classic action and drama sci-fi series, or even now the video game genre also. Amazon is definitely putting its stamp on like really making an identity for itself in regards to what type of studio it wants to be for either movies or television. And so when Amazon Prime, like when they announce something, I think we almost expect quality from them now.
Mm-hmm.
He said, I wouldn't be surprised if Amazon got the rights to Xena and Hercules. I am curious who owns those rights. If those are MGM rights or not. I could easily see a revival of a Xena, Warrior Princess, or Hercules, bro.
If they revive Xena, like keep in mind, I've also only seen very, very limited episodes of Xena, so my knowledge isn't like too big. I haven't seen a single episode of Hercules, but if they did bring back Xena, the way they could hook me immediately if they cast Katie O'Brien as Xena, then suddenly it's like, okay, I'm interested now.
Oh, okay. I kind of dig it. All right, guys, with that out of the way, we got another topic here for you guys today. For those of you who don't know, there's a new Rian Johnson movie that's certainly set to come out here relatively soon, and that is, in fact, Wake Up Dead Man. This will, in fact, be the third entry into the Knives Out franchise. I think a lot of us have been impressed with the first two entries, and the third one, I think, is set to drop theatrically. Is it already out theatrically this week, or maybe it's next week around the Thanksgiving holiday? It might be next week for the Thanksgiving holiday. But Rian Johnson is doing his press tour, highlighting this movie, getting people pumped. I think it's going to be exclusively in theaters, maybe for like a week or two. So if you do get the opportunity to catch it in theaters, please go ahead and do so. And then it's going to be exclusive to just Netflix within the week or two after its release. I think it's dropped sometime in December, if I'm not mistaken. But Rian Johnson has had such a fantastic time with this franchise, and I feel like he's kind of talked about this in the past, like what the future of the Knives Out franchise is certainly going to be. So this week he's been making his rounds. We got two articles here, one from IndieWire and one from the Hollywood Reporter, that really talk about his mindset and mentality of writing Wake Up Dead Man, where it was at during that time, along with his love of working with Daniel Craig. And then also focusing on the idea of what is to come. We do know that Rian Johnson has other projects and another original script that he's currently working on. But will he ever revisit Knives Out after this one? So let's go ahead and dive into this and see what he's got to say. This is from IndieWire. It's a pretty long interview, so I went ahead and highlighted some of the things that he talks about. A tone specifically. It says, but the tone of Wake Up Dead Man is considerably different than the one of its predecessor, Glass Onion. Johnson is keenly aware of this, even bracing the crowd before its own TIFF premiere, that it may not be what they are expecting. But as Johnson says, these movies reflect the tone of the time, and right now, yeah, with current events, what they are, he's feeling pretty angry. So it's an interesting perspective. He says, I noticed you introduced Glass Onion. It was just a quick, let's watch this effing movie. But with Wake Up Dead Man, I wouldn't say you're worried, but you did give a longer explanation that this is not to be the movie audiences are expecting. And Rian Johnson says, yeah, not worried. And this is also part of the reason why I was excited to make the third movie right away. I think when you have two films in this series, people can chart tonally where those are at, draw a line through them and assume that's where the series is going. So part of the fun of it was, let's break that pattern for people. These movies can be whatever they need to be tonally. So I'm aware it's a big change from Glass Onion, and I wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit for people. These movies are very much a reaction to the world. I wrote the second movie during lockdown, so the notion of a big fun vacation movie would be not only a fun thing to shoot, but people might just be might just be into at the moment. So that's maybe where that came from. And right now it feels a little darker. He says the second one was pretty scathing about tech bros. And Johnson says, yeah, for me, anger is one of the things you kind of have to be motivated to sit down to write something. With this one, it's all stuff I care very deeply about. There's stuff I'm angry about, and there's stuff I feel passionate about that the world actually desperately needs more of right now. So I don't know, man. I think that's why I was a lot more nervous at the Wake Up Dead Man premiere than I was at Glass Onion before showing it. It's just more personal in a lot of ways. These are big entertainment, and it always feels weird saying this, but for me, incredibly personal movies. You know, there's more to get to, but I appreciate Rian Johnson tonally changing things up. He's so already good at being, I think, an original writer. You know, outside of his big franchise work for Star Wars, a lot of his stuff have been original concepts. From Brick to Looper to Knives Out and Glass Onion. It's not like he's adapting these from other whodunit novels. Like, these are his own thoughts and original ideas. And so for him to also take an original idea in the sense of, I want to keep people on their toes, that after seeing the first two movies, people may already have an idea of what they think this franchise should be. And instead of allowing other people's perspective of what his franchise should be to put him in a box, he has the notion to want to not only write the third one quickly, but change it up for people in regards to continuing to keep this franchise fresh. So I do find it interesting how he goes about the Glass Onion premiere to Wake Up Dead Man to kind of get audiences ready for that. But I think that's a moment of admiration I have for Rian Johnson, to not only be original in his concepts, but also be original in his thought process of wanting to kind of keep fans on their toes.
Yeah, it's one of the benefits, I think, when it comes to the Knives Out franchise, because I mean, he said, like, before, it's not like this franchise itself is like a trilogy, or it's not like it's a necessarily like one story built to the next. These movies tend to be very episodic, very standalone. They're their own adventures that get, like, kind of, wrapped up by the end of it. It's basically, a great tribute to the classic Sherlock Holmes, Hercule Poirot type of detectives.
Yeah.
And I think he does it so well. And I like that because we're going this route, because we're going the route of none of these movies are necessarily directly leading to each other. Obviously, they're all like, it's I feel like I talk about canon all the time. Obviously, they're all canon with each other, but at the same time, they don't necessarily have to follow the same exact format. I mean, like looking at the first two movies, they're very different in how they reveal the mystery, basically, of how the mystery gets unraveled, and even like the overall reveal at the end. The way the reveal is done is so much different in both movies. So that was kind of the vibe that I got after Glass Onion. Is I kind of figured, okay, these movies are all going to feel very different from each other. So I like that direction. Also, it is interesting hearing him say that, anger is kind of a place where he starts when he writes. And I kind of get that. Like there is something really fun about putting kind of like not directly. I mean, I do think it would be kind of cringe if you were to directly be like, this is the type of person I hate, so I'm making him the main villain. But there is interesting aspects of taking like things in reality that I think like the biggest thing is like talking about like kind of world politics, for example, but then like kind of like morphing it just enough so those can fit as like kind of the main villains of your storylines, whether it be like the CEOs of big companies, or whether it be leaders of of other countries and stuff like that. I think there's just something really fun about being able to kind of like speak your mind, but in a kind of like creative, metaphorical way, in order to really kind of get it out there. And I remember like that was something that the author of the Hunger Games books would always say, is that she didn't write unless she had something to say. So I like hearing that Rian Johnson kind of has the same mentality, and it kind of puts into perspective with Glass Onions. It's because I was already comparing Edward Norton's character to Elon Musk before hearing this, but now after hearing this kind of quote, it's like I'm 90% sure. I'm not saying he's the only inspiration for Edward Norton's character, but I do feel like he was definitely a fraction. Like a part of the inspiration for his character had to have come from Elon Musk. I'm just saying.
Yeah. No, I mean, you definitely might be right there. I mean, because he goes on to say, he says, so basically what you're trying to convey was, I have something to say here. And he says, yeah, hopefully not in a message way, but for me, it's very much about the character of Blanc and the character of Judd, which is Josh Connor's character. He says it's a film dealing directly with politics and religion. And he says, yeah, absolutely. And that dialogue between them, I have both of these guys sort of inside of me. I have both of them, those halves of me, basically. And to let those two halves talk was what was personal about the movie, I guess. Just meaning that it's not important to me because I have a message to get across, God forbid, but that it's a topic that I really care about, and I want to do a movie that was both an entertainment but took topic seriously.
Yeah.
And I kind of appreciate that he's not trying to get too preachy, but it's like, there's something in there he personally feels for. I'm not using this reference because Daniel Craig played this character, but is Benoit Blanc like James Bond for you? In which different actors can play him if Daniel doesn't want to do it anymore, or is he Indiana Jones, where Harrison is Indiana Jones? And he says he's Indy, he's Daniel doing it. So that's how he feels. He says, I asked because obviously many people have played Hercule Poirot. He says, yeah, totally. He said, for me personally, these movies are working with Daniel. It's a partnership, and the instant either of us feel even slightly like not doing it, we'll stop doing it. Was Daniel Craig always going to be Benoit? He says, when we were first trying to get Knives Out made, Daniel wasn't available. He was doing the Bond movies. He was my first choice for it, but he was a hard not available because he was on the Bond movie. So we went to other people for it. We got a bunch of no's about Benoit Blanc. And the guy says, wait, really? And he says, yeah, there's an alternate universe. I'm not going to tell you the people we went to, though. So he kind of keeps that one a little bit close to his vest, but it does insinuate the partnership that him and Daniel certainly have in regards to, one, Benoit Blanc is Daniel Craig. That will certainly never change. And if Daniel never wants to come back or do another movie, those Knives Out movies will certainly stop. How do you feel about that? I mean, first off, I love Daniel Craig. So if Daniel Craig is going to be Benoit and him only, I'm perfectly okay with that. But we do have movies like James Bond, like the Hercule stuff, where we have seen countless actors come in and just pick up that role. How do you feel about it not being those, but being more the Indiana Jones style type?
Yeah, when it comes to James Bond and Hercule Poirot, both the properties come from novels, and so, but like the authors
That's
of those
true.
novels very rarely have anything to do with the movie. So it's really like other people adapting their vision of what they imagine these characters looking like, what they imagine these characters being like, visualized. But like when it comes to Knives Out, it makes perfect sense for Rian Johnson to not want to change after he's already hired like the perfect actor to play this character.
Yeah.
The only one working on Knives Out projects, in the future, as far as I know, unless he decides to hand the torch to someone else. But this was a completely original IP from Rian Johnson, so it makes total sense that he would want to change that main core aspect of the IP that he created. So yeah, I think that it's a very interesting comparison. But like, yeah, I think that when it comes to kind of movies that are made like more originally not based on anything, I think those are the kind where it makes total sense that you want to keep, the same consistency when it comes to the characters and the actors. You want to keep them as being the same. Whereas like, I feel like if you're adapting a comic book, there isn't a single one person that can play Batman. There isn't a single one person that can play, I know people are going to hate me for saying this, but other people can play Iron Man too. I'm just saying Robert Downey Jr. did a great job. But more people can play the character, so yeah, but whereas this is an original character created by Rian Johnson, as long as Rian Johnson is the one continually working on this film, it makes sense that he'd want to stick with Daniel Craig as the main actor.
Yeah, the idea of it not being adapted compared to adaptions, I think, is a good fine line there to point out. I think that makes a lot of sense. The next question, though, is going to be, will there be more Knives Out movies? Rian Johnson and Daniel Craig are already starting to kind of formulate some ideas. Can I get this thing to share? Let's see. Will this share for me? I didn't see the share up on the website. I'm trying to share this page, but for some reason it's not popping up on here. But anyway, I'll read this. This is from the Hollywood Reporter. I don't know why it's not populating up on our screen here for the sharing, but we'll see. Will there be more Knives Out movies? It says Wake Up Dead Man fulfills a 2-sequel distribution deal inked by Johnson and Netflix in 2021. The streaming giant snagged the rights to the series after the original Whodunit achieved massive critical and commercial success under Lionsgate. Where the beloved property is headed next is a burning question fit for the likes of Detective Benoit Blanc, but Johnson made it clear on Monday that he would like to continue expanding the Knives Out universe. He says, creatively, I feel energized after making this one. Daniel and I are already starting to formulate what could be the next one if we do another. The one-time Oscar nominee added that he enjoys working with the new ensemble of actors for a totally different story each time he embarks on the Knives Out journey. I don't know why I would stop doing it if we can keep making them, is what Johnson wind up stating. Says the thrill of crafting a Knives Out screenplay, Johnson explained, is using the murder mystery genre to engage with the here and now, from the hostility towards immigrants to the weaponization of religion. So he's very open to continuing more here. I feel like we've kind of touched upon this before. The idea of oh, that's why it's not. Is it not populating? No, I wonder why it's not sharing on this page. That's interesting. Anyway, so yeah, possibly more Knives Out to certainly come. If this movie, I think, is successful, whether it be successful at the box office or even successful over on Netflix, it seems as though Rian Johnson is going to be kind of busy for the time being, because he does have an original script that he's currently thinking about doing for another movie. So maybe he does that movie first, and then he comes back to Benoit Blanc. But I am kind of curious if he'll stick with Netflix now that this deal has kind of run its course, or if somebody else will end up picking him up. There's a part of me that like, while I appreciate what him and Netflix has kind of done together, I really want these movies in theaters. And I just don't know if Netflix is gonna allow him to have a full theatrical run, or if Ryan Johnson's gonna be perfectly okay with just like these limited time run sort of thing. But I need a Knives Out movie on the big screen. I think I will say, because of how successful these two movies have been so far, if the third movie does well, maybe you can have a fourth movie that's theatrical release and does relatively well at the box office because of its positive upward momentum and trajectory. Whereas I don't know if Knives Out fits in that world of original movies that can't do well at the box office. I feel like it's kind of established itself as an original franchise that can do well. And now that it's become a franchise, and with a possible fourth film, I think it probably could actually do relatively well at the box office. But what do you think, Stuart?
Yeah, we had it playing in our theater for like about one weekend, I want to say, like maybe a few days, 3-4 days.
Not Knives Out. I mean, Glass Onion or Wake Up Dead Man.
Wake Up Dead Man, but yeah, not for a full theatrical run. And the big thing is, I just don't get why. Because yes, Netflix can do whatever they want. It's their, they have their contracts, they can do it however they want, but I just don't know why they would want to keep it out of theaters. Like, I get that they want more people to subscribe to their streaming service, but at this point, I feel like they've kind of, I could be wrong. I don't have the numbers for Netflix, but I feel like at this point, they've kind of plateaued now. So it's not like they're going to lose or gain any streamers from releasing some of their original movies in theaters. So I really don't understand this mentality that they have, especially because I don't know if you remember this, but we were talking about the budget for this movie and just how much they're paying Rian Johnson to keep making these films. They're paying a lot of money for this, like
$400 million or something.
Yeah, like this is not a cheap IP for them. Like, I think, yeah, they said, wasn't this like $200 million for this movie alone?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, so it's like, if you're going to spend that much money on a movie, if you're going to spend $200 million, why wouldn't you want to get the full benefit of it? Why wouldn't you want to release it in theaters and try to get as much money as possible from this? Because I don't know, it doesn't seem like a smart business choice. I mean, obviously,
No,
as a moviegoer, I don't like it. I hate the fact that they're not putting their movies in theaters, because I think it just, I think that's just dumb of them not to. I think it's I don't know, I like watching movies in the theater, so I think it's really dumb for Netflix not to do it for that. But then also, on a business standpoint, like, I can't understand where they're coming from.
Yeah, I personally don't get it either. It is one of those things where, same thing with like Frankenstein by Guillermo del Toro. Like, why is that movie not doing a theatrical run? Like, that's literally one of the best movies I've seen like all year. And like seeing it on the big screen kind of blew me away. And the fact that it's being like just thrusted into theaters for maybe like 1 or 2 weeks, and then just like forgotten about, and not getting any of your money back. Netflix itself probably financially wasn't a I don't want to say a good bet, but I feel like they were probably in the red for a long time before they started making any kind of profit, just because of how much money they kind of spend for these IPs. But you would think if there's a possibility of getting some of that money back that we spent, that we would certainly do it. So I don't know how Netflix makes money, to be quite frank with you, but they do it somehow. So who knows? Who knows? But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts in regards to Wake Up Dead Man. Are you looking forward to it? Would you like to see a fourth one released in theaters? I think the collaboration between him and Netflix have worked, but I do want to see more theatrical releases for this movie. But if he wants to make more movies, I'm perfectly okay with it. He's like the perfect whodunit man right now, and is really great with working with ensemble cast, bringing in the great cast members also to kind of bring his scripts to life. But Rian Johnson continues to impress me, man. I think I don't want to say he's like in our current generation of great directors and maybe even great writers. I feel like he still goes very much under the radar, like I hold him and somebody like Ryan Coogler to like the same regards in regards to fresh young faces I don't know how young Rian Johnson is, but the fact that he continues to do a lot of original IP, whereas Ryan Coogler, has really done a lot of franchise work, but now at least has his own original movie in Sinners. I think I'm always keeping my eye out on both of those two guys. But yeah, let us know your thoughts on the idea of more Rian Johnson Knives Out to come. All right, and with that out of the way, Stuart, let's move on to our next topic here. I do think my internet is giving me some problems. That's probably why it's not allowing me to share some of the articles here. But I don't know if it'll let me share this next one or not. But let's transition over to another popular franchise, and that is, in fact, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, baby. That's right. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is, in fact, back. Maybe for the better, maybe for the worse. Who certainly knows? But this week we wind up getting ourselves a brand new update that more Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is on the way. That's right. After the Skydance and Paramount merger, Paramount does have sort of new ownership, and with new ownership comes brand new ideas. And this time around, they've got themselves a brand new idea for a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. So let me see if I can bring up this article and talk about it with you guys a little bit here. Keep my fingers crossed. And no, it's not pulling up on the fucking screen again. It's okay. But Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Neil Moritz in talks to produce a live action feature for Paramount. This is, in fact, an exclusive. It says, Cowabunga dudes, it looks like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles have a brand new sensei. Neil Moritz, the veteran producer behind the Fast and the Furious franchise. I believe he's also a producer for the Sonic franchise. Correct me if I'm wrong, Stuart. Neil Moritz, see if you can find him, is in negotiations to take the job of restarting TMNT as a live-action franchise for Paramount Pictures. The move occurs as Skydance-owned studio is taking a magnifying glass to its slate and existing IP. As opposed to some other titles, namely Transformers or G.I. Joe, Paramount fully owns the TMNT brand, having picked it up from co-creator Peter Laird in 2009 and is seeking to fully unlock its potential. It says new Paramount has already been shaking up TMNT and its TV media division and recently put Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, a spinoff of Mutant Mayhem, down the sewer. I think we talked a little bit about that last week or a couple of weeks ago. Shutting down the series in the middle of production earlier this fall. They say this is not the vision the owner wants, was the reason given to those working on the show. Showrunner Christopher Yost says the upcoming episodes of Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles will sadly be the last. Luckily, they're our best yet. And then yet at the same time, and this is the heartbreaker, Stuart. This is the heartbreaker. At the same time, The Last Ronin, another TMNT live action CG animation hybrid project that was in development, has been put back in the pizza box, according to sources. The project was being developed as an R-rated feature, but the new regime wasn't keen on having the first non-animated movie in 10 years be a bloody adult skewing story. One insider says the studio wants to leave the door open to possibly revisit it down the road. So keep that in mind. The sequel also to Mutant Mayhem, the animated series, is still set for September 17th, 2027. Multiple sources say Paramount wants to Sonicify the TMNT franchise. Sonic now has 3 movies and counting. It's a hit franchise for Paramount that's based on the video game series. The movies are live action hybrids and play very well to all ages. 4-quadrant crowd. If you want Sonic, you go get the guy who did Sonic, said one insider. So TMNT, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, getting a brand new live action feature from Paramount, scrapping that of the Ronin series, unfortunately. Scrapping that of the Tales of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles animated series, even though Mutant Mayhem animated movie, the sequel, is certainly set to go ahead and come back. But Last Ronin, while scrapped right now, doesn't seem like it's completely done with. So let's keep our fingers crossed. But it seems like they want a 4-quadrant movie here, Stuart, for TMNT. One that's going to hit people of all ages. How do you feel about this movie?
Yeah, this was actually the honorable mention that I talked about in the beginning that I didn't want to talk about because I knew we were going to talk about it here. But the fact that they canceled The Last Ronin for this is what bothers me the most out of it. With Mutant Mayhem, it was like, oh, that's disappointing to hear, but I wasn't really watching the show. So finding out that they decided to, cancel the show didn't disappoint me too much. But man, this was the one that I was really looking forward to with The Last Ronin. And I feel like there's a world we could have gotten both, like, especially because the plan was to just release it straight to Paramount Plus. Like, they weren't even trying to give it a theatrical release. So obviously, if you release that to Paramount Plus and then you do like the new TMNT reboot in theaters, like they would have been totally fine. My other worry too is that does this mean that they're getting rid of the Mutant Mayhem, the next Mutant Mayhem movie? Because I wasn't like too disappointed with the show getting canceled, but I wanted to see the film franchise continue because I feel like they had a great setup. They're and not to mention it was a pretty decent success from what I remember. They definitely made their money back. So
the sequel is still a go. It's still
okay.
set to
It is still a
release in
go.
27. Yeah, 27. It may be the last one, but the sequel is still set.
Okay, I am glad they're at least continuing that, like at least giving that a conclusion. But yeah, I don't know. It's like ever since the merger, it's like they keep saying, "Oh, we're going to be releasing so many more things for under Paramount's belt," but like all I'm hearing now are things that are getting canceled. But yeah, so it's disappointing to hear in that sense. But of course, live action Ninja Turtles reboot, I am curious to see what direction they'll go into. They did mention sonicifying it, which means it won't be it'll probably feel more in line with the Michael Bay Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles than it does with the 90s live action Mutant Ninja Turtles. So that would be kind of the guess of where they go direction wise. I'm expecting it to be fun, it to be one of those movies where you may not think about it too hard after you watch it, but you'll go in and have a fun time, especially if you have kids to take with you to go see it. So I'm sure it'll be a fun movie. I'm just disappointed because we had such a cool concept being developed for a live action movie, and it sucks that that's okay. I think this is why I'm disappointed. Is because with The Last Ronin, I didn't know what to expect for the live action adaptation to look like. I had ideas, but I didn't know for sure what it was going to look like. But immediately, just from this interview alone, I have such a strong idea of what this new reboot of Ninja Turtles is going to be, and I will actually be really shocked if I'm wrong in any of these areas. It seems like they're going to play on nostalgia. They're going to have like kind of, I don't know. It's going to be, I feel like they kind of just told us it's just going to be kind of like, the same Sonic formula. So I'm sure it'll be fun, but I doubt it'll surprise me in any way, shape, or form, whereas The Last Ronin, I would be surprised if that movie didn't surprise me in any way, shape, or form. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I feel you there. Yeah, that Last Ronin just sounded so incredible. It sounded so original and something new and different. Because we've had so many TMNT movies in the past before, seen it in animation. Like we've seen TMNT done so many ways. So the idea of taking a stab at something like Last Ronin just felt like, risky, but certainly something fresh and unique to bring to the big screen. So I'm glad that despite it being canceled, it sounds like they're kind of still open to it. I don't, they may say that now, but I just don't know. Like, what does that mean? We'll revisit it. That just feels like a 10, 15 year, like down the line sort of thing. Because if you want to sonicify TMNT, it feels like, well, we're probably going to get like a trilogy of these characters in this way. So it's not like you then want to drop a rated R project in between all of that when you are trying to make a 4-quadrant film. So the Last Ronin stuff is a little bit disappointing. Like you, I am glad that at least we do get the Mutant Mayhem sequel there. But when they talk about Sonic Fine, there are two things that come to mind here. One, for the most recent live action TMNT movies, like Out of the Shadows and the other ones, where they felt kind of Sonic-y in the sense of like you had those characters as CGI characters that were living and part of like this live action world that surrounded it, right? I don't know how well it did financially at the movies, if they were blockbusters or not. I personally can't remember, but that could certainly be the route that they decide to go again. But that just leaves bad battle scars on me that I'd rather not revisit. But then the fact that they want this to be a 4-quadrant film, I don't know why, Stuart, but I feel like they want to bring like the 1990s animated series to life. How Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the first one, was so dark and more of a drama that they then wanted to change it up and make it another 4-quadrant film in regards to something that everybody could see, like kidify it a little bit, add more humor and goofy choreography and things like that. So there's a part of me that, like, when you talk about the idea of like maybe going more nostalgia, like for some reason when they talk about them sonicifying it and it being a 4-quadrant film, it feels like a 90s adaptation of TMNT is what they really want to try and capture once again, in that light. And could it work? Maybe. I don't know. I'll have to see who they bring on for writers and directors to really get a better sense of what this is going to turn out to be. But look, I'm all for more TMNT. I'm all for live action TMNT, especially. I'm just hoping for two things: great martial arts, and I need really cool costumes, bro. Like I need Paramount to really go out of the way instead of being cheap and CGIing the hell out of these characters. Can I please get some practical suits? I just want some practical suits. Like I know that we're in the age of AI, and who knows, Paramount probably would probably sprinkle in some AI in here based off of who's running this company. Even though they got billions of dollars, it wouldn't surprise me if they want to go a little bit cheaper in some areas. But I really just want, let's just get back to like practical suits, please. If you want to add a little CGI, that's cool. But I think what turned me off from the recent live action TMNTs were the overly CGI turtles. And I would like a little bit of a better blend of it than what we certainly got before. But we'll see. With new management comes new visions, comes new ideas. Maybe these guys grew up on the TMNT 90s cartoon, and that's what they envisioned for live action. I've got no idea, but we'll see how this turns out. But
Yeah.
I'm sure we got some TMNT fans in the house that has some thoughts. Marcelino says, he said, I want an adaptation of the IDW comics that they started with 2011. It's the best Turtles interpretation. There's so many good stories from it. Tony Robinson says, Turtles and Rangers are always getting the kiddies treatment. Yeah. Marcelino says, in IDW Comics, Casey bonds with the Turtles to escape his abusive father. They introduce a fifth turtle who's a former Foot Clan. Donnie talks to a dead rat after Splinter's death.
I do remember the fifth turtle because like people were talking about it like, oh, they introduced a woman turtle, and unlike Venus from the 90s live action Ninja Turtles TV show, people actually really like this new turtle, the one that used to be like part of the Foot Clan. I haven't read the IDW comic books, but yeah, I have heard. In fact, I actually Indy, if you are still watching the show, tell us if you're still reading those, because if I remember correctly, I believe you were mentioning that you read those comic books at some point. So if you're watching, let us know if you still are. But yeah, I've heard they're pretty good.
Marcelino does say Michael Bay did the Turtles. I didn't know he came on board to do. I didn't know that was him.
Oh, the live action ones from the
yeah.
early, or from oh god, well, when was that? That was like 2013, right?
Yeah, he said the first one made over 400 million out of 150 million dollars. The sequel making 200 million out of 130 million. So it definitely took a significant loss or a drop in the bucket for sure for the sequel. But that's interesting. Blossom says fifth turtle. Are you talking about Venus? I liked Venus. I don't think Venus was the fifth one in the comic books, at least.
Mm-hmm. I think I don't think she was called Venus in the comics. I think Venus was her name in the live action show. Yeah, Power Rangers in space. Yeah,
and the live action show. Yeah,
yeah.
But yeah, Marcelino says no, it's not Venus. It's after Jenica. He says we don't talk about Venus.
I know that was like the main thing. One of the two creators of the Ninja Turtles like hated about the '90s show. It's like, no, it's supposed to just be the four of them. We don't want a fifth turtle. And that was why they ended up kind of, because one of them was okay with selling out, the other one wasn't. So that's what ended up leading to their departure for a while.
Interesting. All right. But yeah, guys, let us know your thoughts on the new TMNT live action announced at Paramount. Some sacrifices had to be made, unfortunately. But we're getting ourselves new TMNT from the new owners at Paramount. But let us know your guys' thoughts. And with that story, we got one last topic here. We're going to kind of breeze through this, but one of the things we've always talked about is keeping you up to date in regards to what's happening with this Warner Brothers merger. We do have ourselves some new news this week as the bidding war has officially begun, because this could have really big ramifications for not only Warner Brothers movies, but their TV and streaming side of things. People could lose their jobs. New management can certainly come in. Heck, it could really impact the future of the movie going experience kind of as we know it a little bit. But there is a new update for the Warner Brothers merger. Let's go ahead and get into that before we get to live viewer questions. But according to Deadline here, and so it begins. Paramount, Netflix, and Comcast formally submit their bids for Warner Brothers Discovery. So it looks like it's a three-way fight right now, unless there's a dark horse that nobody's really talked about. Paramount, Comcast, and Netflix have submitted bids to acquire all or part of Warner Brothers Discovery, ushering in a dramatic period of evolution for the media business. Multiple sources confirmed the bidding to Deadline, with the word coming as a deadline for non-bidding dates arrived on Thursday. There will also be another round after the particulars are hashed out, when bidders will be asked if they want to submit a final binding offer. So this is just like a prerequisite bid, it seems like. And then they'll probably hash out more details and then possibly come up with a final bid if they still want to go through with it. WB has indicated that they believe the sale process can be concluded by late December, though the transaction would then require at least a year to be cleared by regulators, which I think is going to be really the big hurdle here for anybody. Paramount is uniquely positioned in the Derby, not only because it wants to swallow the whole company, including its less desirable assets, but because of the family behind it. We got CEO David Ellison, who is the son of Larry Ellison, one of the richest people on earth. In addition to his vast financial resources, the elder Ellison is a supporter of President Trump. Comcast could encounter a bumpier path, giving Trump's longtime animus towards MSNBC and figures like NBC late night hosts and things like that, and the CEO. Whoever ends up at the altar will also need to be ready to make the case with the international regulators, given that the standards, especially in Europe, tend to be more strict. The question stateside will be whether the sheer size of the deal might prompt action by state attorney generals who may perceive a monopoly threat to consumers. Again, the idea of having, one person owning so much of the media certainly should be raise some red flags. The influence that you could potentially have. But on the other side, being a supporter and a friend of the president certainly comes with its benefits of having him help push things through a little bit easier than maybe for other companies that want to purchase Warner Brothers. So this is going to be a really interesting. I don't think this is going to be as clean cut as people think it's going to be. I don't know if there's any dark horses in here. I'll be kind of curious to see who winds up winning it. I believe David Zaslav met with Comcast last week, or met with the CEO of Comcast last week or the week before. So that might be an interesting situation. Universal does have Universal Studios and other things like that, theme park aspirations too. So the purchase of Warner Brothers would be really beneficial in that regards too. So I do think Comcast certainly has some leverage in the game. I think this is really going to come down to what is important to David Zaslav at the end of the day, and the shareholders in regards to not only who can make the most money, but I don't even know honestly if they have consumers in mind. Honestly, when they're doing all this, or if it's just how much money can we walk away from this with, is what my big concern is. But I want to let you guys know the bids are in, and hopefully we should have some announcement by the end of the year as to where Warner Brothers decides to go with this. Do it.
Yeah, it's. I am still like kind of in the camp of I believe it's going to go to Paramount, most of it. I wouldn't be shocked though if, in order to make it slightly better, make it look slightly better on paper, if certain assets went to other studios, like let's say some of the biggest IPs like DC, Harry Potter, and all those like went to Paramount. But then like kind of the smaller, lesser known WB IPs that like people totally forgot they even had, like if those went to Netflix and Comcast. But I am still expecting like a majority of WB properties to go to Paramount. I feel like they have kind of the biggest advantage when it comes to not only financially are they the most well off compared to Comcast and Netflix, but when you have the president of the United States kind of supporting you and wanting you to succeed, that kind of gives you a major, like not even just like a leg in the door. It's like you're basically already in there. You're just trying to figure out the logistics to make this merger look legal, basically.
Yeah, and I am also curious on Warner Brothers' side, because they have talked about the idea of splitting up their company at some point in time for selling off the studio and streaming aspects of things compared to their like cable side of things. I do wonder if there's a deal in there somewhere like that might be really advantageous to Comcast, where they pay maybe a lot more for the studio and streaming side of things, and maybe don't even necessarily put a bid in for the cable side of things, and allows Warner Brothers to eventually try and sell that other half for maybe more money, if they certainly wanted to. I think when you talk about the idea of Paramount buying all of it, I think could certainly raise some red flags in regards to the idea of a monopoly. But what if it was Comcast only purchasing half of it? Like, is that more digestible for state attorneys or the whatever federal regulators in regards to companies growing and not becoming a monopoly? Is that more digestible for them to accept and approve of than purchasing everything outright from Paramount, if that makes sense? Since it's because I believe Comcast and Warner Brothers have this mindset of wanting to eventually sell off their cable assets and keep hold of their studio and their studio and streaming side of things. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see who wins the day. But just wanted to keep you guys informed as to what's going on here. But yeah, let us know your thoughts. And that will do it for all of our main topics for the day. And Stuart, with that out of the way, I think you know what time it is.
I do indeed. And now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
And we're going to get into our live viewer questions portion of the show. Let me go ahead and pull this up here for you guys. If you ever want to submit a live viewer question, how do you do so? It's pretty simple. You just go over to our YouTube channel, like so. Let me go ahead and pull this up here. Every Saturday afternoon or Saturday evening, we'll post a live viewer question. Just go to our YouTube channel, click on this post tab right here, and voila, live viewer questions submitted 15 hours ago. We got 11 comments. Let's try and blaze through some of these as quickly as we can to keep this show under 3.5 hours today. Let me get this out of the way and let's kick this off. We got AJ in the house with his Power Ranger stuff. Foreshadowing of a male Pink Ranger. Hey, bro, those DEI days are over, AJ. Not happening, bro. The concept of a male Pink Ranger has been subtly explored and foreshadowed throughout the Power Ranger franchise, culminating in significant nods in Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. In Dino's Supercharge episode Freaky Fight Day, the monster-induced body swap Red Ranger Tyler Navarro fighting in Pink Ranger Shelby Watkins' body and vice versa, with both hilariously wearing each other's civilian clothes, offering a glimpse of a male character in the pink suit. Did he wear the pink suit? Was there a male character in the pink suit in Dino Charge, or was it like a body swap? So his mind was in Shelby's body, but Shelby was still the Pink Ranger.
It was still Shelby's body in the Pink Ranger suit.
Okay.
Yeah.
This foreshadowing became more intricate in Dino Fury's episode The Makeover, where Zato and Amelia Jones switched bodies, but discovered they couldn't morph unless they swapped their Dino keys, with Amelia Red Ranger Morph Flash being a direct precursor to her eventual role as the new Red Ranger in Cosmic Fury. This transition, where Amelia becomes the first Pink Ranger to be promoted to the Red Ranger and the team's new leader, found its a final nod in Cosmic Fury, with Mick, a Red Ranger, was shown piloting the pink Cosmic Eagle Sword, a symbolic gesture acknowledging Amelia's groundbreaking shift and franchise's slow move towards the concept of a male Pink Ranger, a milestone already achieved in parallel Sentai series Dawn Brothers, which is official male Pink. Oh, that's right, they did do it with Kiji Brother. That's right. Given these continuous nods, do you think Power Ranger franchise will ever do an official male Pink Ranger? No.
Yeah, I don't see it happening like in
No.
live action, especially with a reboot coming. Like maybe if the show had kept going, we would have gotten that eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't see it happening in live action anytime soon. But the very first Mighty Morphin team in the comic books did have a male Pink Ranger. The team that Zordon put together during the Cold War with Gray Sterling leading. The Pink Ranger was a guy in that one. Even though they all got killed off immediately after being introduced, with Grace being like the only survivor. We still technically had one. Oh yeah, and then Zach. Zach became the Pink Ranger very briefly in the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers when they all switched colors. I believe Trini became the Red Ranger. Jason was the yellow. Oh man, I actually don't remember now. I think was Billy the Black Ranger, and then Zach was the Pink Ranger. Yeah, I remember seeing the cover and just absolutely laughing.
Yeah, Grace Sterling's team had a female Black Ranger, and a male Pink Ranger, and a male Yellow Ranger. So yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Shout out also to Tokuger, who also did a pink male Ranger in Super Sentai with the transferring of the trains. They're able to swap the color scheme, and Red Ranger picked up the Pink Ranger's train set and turned pink. So shout out to Tokuger for also doing that as well. But yeah, as far as Power Rangers, I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon. Marcelino, Captain America Civil War is still beloved after 10 years, but over time, people are beginning to point out some of the problems it had by being the third Captain America movie. Civil War was not only the third Captain America movie, it also introduced Black Panther, Spider-Man, and Zemo, continuing Bucky's story, revealed that Bucky was the one that killed Tony's parents and was a spiritual sequel to the Avengers. And it's not because it had a bunch of Avengers, it's because it heavily affects the Avengers storyline by disbanding the team. With all this in mind, some people some stuff got neglected, more like the Sokovian Accords, the thing that started the movie, because it became more about Steve willing to do everything to protect his friend and less about the nuanced topic of, do you let the government have more control in order to prevent less collateral damage, or do you allow superheroes to be more independent and not restricted by the government? If you look at the production history, Civil War wasn't the first choice. Marvel was thinking about adapting the Mad Bomb storyline, where civilians get hit with a bomb that turns into a rageful people, forcing Captain America to find new ways to save because he can't punch his way out of it. But Kevin Feige was adamant about Civil War. Looking back now, many people think that Captain America 3 should have been the Mad Bomb, and the next Avenger movie is Civil War rather than Ultron. That way, some elements of Civil War get moved to Mad Bomb, and everything flows more seamlessly. What do you think? Go ahead, sir.
I was just gonna say, like, For me, I think even looking back on it, I think Actually, I'm sorry. You go first. I'm gonna think. I thought I had something to say, but then I'm kind of like, never mind. Let me think over real quick. So yeah, you go first. Sorry.
I mean, no, I'm cool with the way that it turned out personally. I mean, I don't like the concept of the Mad Bomb. I mean, maybe I can read a little bit more about it, but I don't like the concept of the Mad Bomb. It's been a while since I've watched Civil War to see how lost the concept of the Sokovian Accords became in there. Was that after that was Civil War was before Age of Ultron?
Yeah. Civil War was 26. Or no. Sorry, after Age of Ultron. My bad. Ultron was 15. Civil War was 2016.
Okay. So I mean, I think Civil War touched upon it enough, but I do think because the differences between Tony and Cap are still there. I think if anything, I think Civil War does build off of Age of Ultron because you've got sort of those two leaders already butting heads in regards to the creation of Ultron. So it kind of puts them um, already at odds end when it comes to the concept now of like introducing sort of Sokovian Accord. So I think they kind of build off of each other really well. To then just even add more to the friction when you do include the Bucky storyline in there. So I'm perfectly okay with the way that it was situated. The Mad Bomb storyline to me again, maybe I'll have to read more about it, but just from what I'm reading, doesn't sound really appealing to me. I'd much rather have Black Panther and Zemo and Spider-Man, and seeing Zemo kind of work the Avengers into an upheaval and really shattering kind of that team because events of Civil War do put them even in a more predicament situation come Infinity War. So I think from a storyline purpose of where they were going to get to Infinity War, I think Civil War plays a very crucial and important part in it. So yeah, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it.
Yeah. Okay, cool. I just wanted to gather my thoughts real quick. Yeah. So basically, I think I like the way it all turned out. Especially because, like, even though, nothing. The thing is, the Civil War comics were never my favorite. I thought that the concept of Civil. You know what? I'd compare Civil War actually, the Captain America Civil War, to oh God, what was that Tom King run he did? There was a miniseries, Tom King Sanctuary. Yeah. I would compare it to Tom King's Sanctuary, where I love the ideas of Civil War and Sanctuary. On paper, these both sound incredible. Execution wise, there are so many things I hate about both of them. Main thing with the Civil War comic books being that, like, there's not really that much talking going on between characters. We have characters talking with other characters who are in agreement with each other in an echo chamber, but you rarely have like the discussions of people disagreeing with each other as much. The closest, like, you get like one scene, for example, where Captain America tells Mara Hill, like, I don't know if I can agree with this because, this reason, that reason, and that reason, rather than discussing it over. Mara Hill's just like, arrest Steve Rogers.
Right.
And it's just, you ruin like kind of an opportunity to have like a fun discussion. But I think the movie took full advantage of like the characters and the sides that they take by giving them the conversation that we kind of want to see them have when it comes to these type of things. So I love the disagreement between Tony and Captain America, and I love how they even add like a perfect time crunch, because like this was something I remember everyone talking about how they hated in Batman versus Superman. If Superman, there were so many ways Superman could have just taken Bruce aside and been like, hey, you're being manipulated. But like that never happens. But like in Captain America, they add like the perfect amount of a time crunch to make it so it makes so much sense why Iron Man and Captain America never have that conversation, why they can never talk things out, because there's a time crunch. They have to get to like a specific destination in time. And then finally, when he puts it all together and you think things are going to work out, suddenly it switches and it becomes like the new Civil War becomes about something that can't be talked over. It's something where it's like when you find this like news, like when you find out this big bomb that like, oh, your best friend killed my parents, it's not something you can exactly talk out the moment you hear it. It's like, yeah, it makes sense that at that point Tony would have like the biggest outburst that we kind of see in the entire MCU franchise. So I think overall, I like that they adapted Civil War. I like that they took what worked about Civil War and what didn't work, and they made like something completely original out of that. I think that's kind of the best way to adapt comic books, and that's what James Gunn even seems to be doing with his storyline with the oh god, what is he calling the prison again? The other dimensional prison.
Sanctuary.
Yeah. Wait, is the Sanctuary?
Sanctuary Run?
I thought, okay, maybe I'm getting my names mixed up. So maybe it
Salvation.
There we go. Yeah, Salvation. Thank you. So with Salvation, I remember him saying that, like, I really like the concept of Salvation, but he's not like taking the storyline of Salvation. He's taking that concept and making something original with it. The only thing with Captain America Civil War, I think would have made it better though, is and I wish I could say this was my idea. No, I kind of this came from Cosmonaut Variety Hour. He brings up that the one thing that could have made this movie better is if it took place, and I don't know, and I know that you'd have to change Infinity War and Endgame because obviously characters die in that, but I think it would have been interesting if it took place after this really big conflict with like Thanos, because then you would have it so it's like our heroes who just overcame so much now have to fight an even bigger threat than Thanos, and that threat being their inner demons. I kind of like the idea of like, sometimes our inner demons, sometimes our, struggles, like as people, like we have with Steve Rogers and Tony Stark, that can be an even bigger threat sometimes than the monsters that we face. So yeah.
I agree.
Yeah. Sorry, that was a lot.
No, you're good. You're good. He just says, why don't you like the idea of Mad Bomb? It sounds like a great concept. We could have had both if Age of Ultron was replaced by Civil War. So, I mean, just based off of what you're telling me, and again, I'll have to look more into the concept, but where civilians get hit with a bomb that turns them into rageful people, forcing Captain America to find new ways to save them because he can't punch his way out of it. I mean, that sounds okay as like a solitary story, but I don't know how that concept moves the grander story of the MCU forward. Like, to me, that just sounds more like we're zombifying people, and now it's Captain America versus rageful zombies in the sense of like now he can't punch them, but he's got to come up with like that sounds cool and all, but that doesn't sound like something that would move. It just sounds like a one-off sort of movie to me. Whereas I think they really wanted to connect Captain America to not only what had happened in Age of Ultron, but also what was coming forth when it comes to Infinity War. I don't want Age of Ultron to replace Civil War because I think they both have important. I think they both have important places in the MCU, right? Like Age of Ultron really begins the disintegration of Tony and Captain America's relationship with Tony creating Age of Ultron, the destruction of Sokovia. I'm sure there's some animosity there in that regards and some blame and resentment that's kind of pushed around. So then you carry that over into Civil War, and you already have these two characters who are already doubtful and kind of untrusting. And then now you add that element of Bucky into the situation. You already have mayhem about like what superheroes should or shouldn't be after Age of Ultron, how much collateral damage, that plays a part. And when you already when Age of Ultron forces them to now be on polar opposites of the bigger political spectrum, you come to find out that there's even more more between them for them to further that split, and that's the revelation of Cap knowing about Bucky and not telling Tony kind of this entire time, right? So it's building blocks, it's pieces on top of pieces on top of pieces to make it believable as to why this team would have split up in the first place, so that when we do get to Infinity War, our heroes are already on the back foot. I think if you eliminate Civil War and you just have it as Age of Ultron, it's a little bit harder for me to believe that these two men are at the place that they're at in Infinity War if it's just based off of some Sokovia Accords,
Mhm.
like a disagreement politically in how the Avengers should certainly be handled, whereas Civil War adds a more personal conflict between the two that really affects where these characters go and a lot of the tragedy that happens in Infinity War. And so for me, Mad Bomb, cool concept for a one-off Captain America movie, but when you are building to a bigger connective universe and building to Avengers, Age of Ultron and Civil War equally have as big of a place. Even if Civil War doesn't necessarily deal with Sokovia Accords, the entirety of it, it helps build off of what was established in Age of Ultron. So that's why I'm not that. That's why I'm not a big fan of the Mad Bomb storyline. Um, if Suicide Squad showed that Arrow writers did get made, if the Suicide Show Squad that Arrow writers did get made instead of the Flash, what is something you would like to see from the show that doesn't involve the Flash or any other superhero show, only focus on Diggle leading the Suicide Squad?
Ooh. Um, Threat wise, I don't know off the top of my head, but I feel like that would have been a perfect kind of storyline for Diggle, because kind of going into season 4 of Arrow, that was where Diggle had like kind of the struggle with his brother about them like just not seeing eye to eye and him not believing that his brother could be redeemed. I think that this could have added the idea for Diggle to like kind of see, because this is actually kind of an arc that Diggle has at some point, the idea of people can change, people can be reformed. I think there was just like a period of time. It's been so long since I've watched Arrow, so if I'm getting Diggle's arc wrong, please let me know. But I do believe there was a time period where Diggle was like one of those people that had that mindset of, oh no, once a criminal, always a criminal. And it wasn't until like kind of Bronze Tiger, I think that was his name, fighting alongside with him, and then later on adopting his son. He came to kind of learn that, everyone makes mistakes, including himself, including his brother, and that people aren't defined by their mistakes, that they can change, they can overcome. And I think that that's something that they could have played with so well with him and the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, you might be. Yeah, I would love to see that actually. I would love to have seen that. When it comes to Thomas Godolkin in Gen V season 2, many say he was wasted potential. To recap, the guy who founded the university, Thomas Godolkin, was revealed to be alive and the mastermind behind season 2 in an effort to trick Marie into healing his body, basically evil Professor X. Like Homelander, he wanted Supes to take over the world, but he hated how Supes were reduced to mediocrity because Homelander was an egotistical man-child who didn't want anyone else to be stronger than him. So his plan was to kill off all the weak Supes and eventually take control of Homelander. Many people thought he could become the most powerful Supe in the series and became the new villain of the boys and use Homelander like a puppet. But afterwards, he gets beaten by the Gen V team and Marie kills him. Many saw him as wasted potential. What are your thoughts?
Spoilers. I actually haven't even started Gen V season 2. I actually started rewatching Gen V season 1 because I don't know why. Maybe I was smoking weed while I was watching season 1, but my recollection of season 1 of Gen V is so bad that I needed to like restart it and watch it from the beginning. But like as I'm watching it, it's all kind of coming back to me. Right now I've only just watched the first 2 episodes, so I still gotta finish season 1 before going to season 2. It's so weird, but no, like hearing though that there's an evil Professor X, I do think I do have to agree with this. Having not seen the full context, that would have made for a really great villain for The Boys season 5. Like, I don't know how they would have been able to take on that.
Yeah, spoiler alert, I have not seen it either, so I can't answer that question completely. But Marcelino does want to correct me. I say I misread his question. I apologize about that. He says Civil War exists, Age of Ultron gets erased. So he's suggesting Avengers 2 should have been Civil War. and the next Captain America movie should have been the Mad Bomb. My only, I guess, if anything, that would probably make Captain America 3 more standalone-ish, and not more like a quasi Avenger film in that regards. But no, I still stick with the idea of both of them needing to exist. Um, Age of Ultron introduces us to Vision, and it also introduces us to Quicksilver, and introduces us also to Scarlet Witch. So erasing Age of Ultron, I think, does a little bit of a disservice also to the introduction of those characters. Where would they be introduced to? Vision is the one that winds up taking War Machine out of the picture in Civil War, so he's got a very important role to certainly play. Yeah, I don't know. I'm just not a fan of the Mad Bomb storyline. That just, to me, it just yeah, maybe it could work as a cool one-off, but like if I were to replace Civil War with Age of Ultron, that would just make Captain America 3 feel like an odd follow-up to me.
Yeah, and like on top of that, I think the problem with Civil War instead of Ultron is I think yeah, we had Avengers where they teamed up, but we haven't had a movie where they're a team from the beginning to the end yet. And I think that that's what kind of helps earn that separation in Civil War. I don't think it would have been as impactful if we only had one Avengers movie before it. I think what makes it impactful is we saw them coming together. We saw them in one movie, and then we see them in the next movie working together, even through some of their disagreements. And so watch then having a movie right at, or not right after, but a year after that, where suddenly, like, despite the strong bond that they killed, or that they, sorry, despite the strong bond that they built, someone was still able to dismantle them from, the ground up. So I don't know. To me, I think it just makes the separation feel more earned, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I agree. Hopefully that clarified it a little bit more for you, Marceline. I'm sorry I misread your question. Peg C, what are your thoughts on the Toei reviving the Metal Hero series with possible title Super Space Sheriff Gavin Infinity is rumored to be taking the Super Sentai Sunday 9:30 a.m. time slot in 2026. I'm all for it. I'm eager to see what the first trailer is going to look like. I may actually try and watch this season. To be quite frank with you, the idea of it doing something different, if it is a collaboration of Metal Heroes with some Super Sentai inspirations or collaborations here, I may give it a shot. Paramount has paused its R-rated live-action adaptation Last Ronin, and instead the studio is moving ahead with a more kid-friendly live-action TMNT. Do you think this is a good idea or a bad idea on Paramount's end? I don't know. I don't know if it's a bad idea. I mean, I think the idea of ditching the Last Ronin is a bad one. But I don't knock them for wanting to make a 4-quadrant TMNT movie. I think people are hungry for just live action TMNT. Like whatever it's gonna be, I think we'll all digest it. Whether or not we like it or not, we'll have to see. I think yes, I would love to have the Last Ronin. I don't know if that's ever going to happen now. I think it's definitely unfortunate, but I'm okay with the idea of them at least still doing a live action TMNT.
Yeah, I'm disappointed in what we lost, but that isn't necessarily going to stop me from wanting to see the next Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles live action movie. Like, if it comes out, I'll watch it probably.
Oh, yeah, he says, do you think it should be Last Ronin should be revisited as an animated movie? I think that's up for. I think that's an option.
Yeah, if they did that, I wouldn't be as excited, but I'd still watch it for sure.
Yeah, I would still watch it. Roman Reigns and CM Punk are voicing Zebra Buddy Cops in the upcoming Zootopia 2. The characters are referred to as Zebros and have been featured in the trailer for the movie. They voice a pair of zebra police officer character names. One character is named Zebra Zabowski, voiced by CM Punk, and the other is Zebro Zabrowski, voiced by Roman Reigns. What are your thoughts? I mean, that's pretty funny. I don't. I probably will never watch Zootopia 2, but that's funny.
You weren't a fan of the first one?
I don't even think I've seen the first one, honestly.
Ah, okay.
I remember they're in the zoo. Maybe they escape. But that's probably much all that I know.
That is definitely not the plot of the movie, but that's okay.
Yeah, see, I've definitely never seen it before. Definitely never seen it before. I'm making up my own plot as I go. Marky Parko. The hardest thing for aspiring actors, once you look past the intense difficulty of auditions and landing, the hardest part for aspiring actors, once you look past the intense difficulty of auditions and landing that first professional credit, is undoubtedly the financial and professional instability of the career path. It is a constant battle to juggle flexible, often low satisfaction survival jobs that allow you to drop everything for an opportunity while simultaneously investing time and money in classes, headshots, and networking, all with no guarantee of booking steady role. The sustained financial strain and lack of traditional career advancement can be profoundly challenging to an actor's self-esteem and mental health as they see peers in other fields build stable lives, which raises the question, what non-acting skill or side business do you think provides the best balance or flexibility and stable actor for an income? Probably some trade work, honestly. Maybe go to trade school also if you're gonna become an actor. Maybe pick up some like electrical work, plumbing work, something that people will always need. So when you're not finding a job, you have something that you can kind of fall back on now that will pay you significantly well, I guess. I don't know how much of your time will be spent doing more trade work than acting. Maybe trying to find time for auditions to certainly still go to. I mean, I don't know how well Uber works for people full time that are actors. I don't know. That's for some reason trade work just came to mind for me.
Yeah. I got one that has like a bit of flexibility. I don't know. I'm speaking mostly for the one here at SF, so I can't say for sure if it's the same in LA, but I know that they have several locations in LA. But I do think the Alamo Draft House isn't a bad idea because you're working at a movie theater, you're serving, which means you get paid. And keep in mind, this is only for California. Do not work at the Alamo Draft House if you live in another state. But if you live in California, I recommend the Draft House because you're getting paid minimum wage plus tips. And if it's a busy day or if it's a busy week, you're going to get a good chunk of the tip pool share. So your checks are going to look pretty good. It's a good way to it's definitely a good part-time job to have if you're looking for other work. I'd say that that's the one you kind of want to go for. It can definitely be mentally exhausting and physically exhausting, especially depending on the location, if there's stairs and you don't have a elevator or something like that. But I think that for me it's a good income for me. I've been able to pay rent and I've been able to do my hobby of doing the podcast with you. So it's and plus I still have find time to write on the side. So I think that that's definitely one option you could look to if you're an actor and you're trying to get a side hustle that can still pay the bills.
I feel like a lot of actors are probably in those fields, or at least like servers and bartenders and things like that, where they can make maybe some type of, well, I'm sure servers probably don't have a base, but maybe if you can find a job that does really good tips, maybe that's something. But I do like the idea of Alamo.
And that's why I say only in California, because outside California, correct me if I'm wrong, but most states, I don't know if any other states have this exception, but if you work as a server and you make tips, they don't have to pay you minimum wage. They can pay you however little they want to. And I heard that one of the Alamos in Texas, they pay their servers $2 an hour. And I've heard that from people that have come to our Alamo Draft House from Texas. And that's, the fact that they can get away with that legally pisses me off beyond belief.
I mean, if you do a job that gets tips like that, your minimum wage it's not even minimum wage. It's I have heard $2-3 here and there as your hourly, and then everything else is tip wise. So
Let me just say this for anyone who owns a restaurant outside of California: if you pay your employees less than minimum wage, I don't give a shit if they make tips. You are a horrible person, and there is a special place in hell for you.
My friends call me Joseph. Do you agree or disagree that the major plot hole in No Way Home is the obvious fact that Peter Parker and Doctor Strange can have resolved the entire conflict by simply asking for a spell to erase the world's memory of Mysterio and his final video message rather than Peter's identity as Spider-Man? Yeah, it feels kind of like they maybe went like to the extreme resolution. Like there's no in between, bro. We can't. This alternate would have logically restored Peter's life, prevented the interpretation of the spell, and thus prevented the multiversal fracture that brought back all the villains. Do you think there's a valid in-universe explanation for why they couldn't simply erase Mysterio's memory, or such as a magical rule requiring consent? If not, do you believe this was solely done for the sake of setting up major multiverse storylines? It's been a while since I've watched No Way Home. I is that not an option in the movie? Like, does Doctor Strange not? I thought Doctor Strange turned something down in regards to like we can't do that, or that's not an option. Am I don't. Maybe I don't remember it. I don't remember that so much.
There was a line where Peter was like, I thought, wait, what about people that I already know? And he's like, oh, that's not how the spell works, and that kind of a thing. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't remember them mentioning that they couldn't have gone with that option. I don't think that option ever gets even brought up. But, you brought up consent, so I'm going to go with that as my headcanon of why it wouldn't have worked. I think, like, you need the person who's having everyone forget about them has to want that to happen for the spell to work. That'll be my headcanon explanation. There are also, I don't know, there could have been like other factors that I'm sure some people smarter than me could have thought of why that would have been a bad idea. Yeah, I don't know. And plus, like, maybe erasing Mysterio doesn't erase the message somehow. Like, people still have the memory of someone leaking that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, even if they don't remember who it was that leaked the information. Yeah, it's a very there are a lot of here's the thing though. There are a lot of things about how that scene played out that could have had the whole thing gotten resolved easier. But I think what it comes down to is Doctor Strange's ego. For some reason, he didn't think that Peter would need more than 5 minutes to think about the full consequences of making a spell like this happen. The fact that Doctor Strange didn't even take the time to go, oh, by the way, Peter, I can do this for you, but here's what's going to happen. Instead, he tells him as he's doing the spell, by the way, everyone's going to forget who you are. So it's like, I think that if anything, it's Doctor Strange's ego that screwed everything up. And I wouldn't call that a plot hole. I would just say that's, because that's very much in line with his character.
So this is what I put into Google. Did Doctor Strange have any other options in No Way Home?
Mm-hmm.
And this is what Google AI said. There are 3 bullet points here. Peter's interruptions. The spell's purpose was to make people forget Peter Parker was Spider-Man. However, Peter kept interfering with the spell's parameters by asking to exclude people from being forgotten, like MJ, Ned, and Aunt May. And then it says corrupted spell. The constant interruptions fractured the spell, turning it into a multiversal breaking event that started pulling people from other realities who knew Peter was Spider-Man. And then it says, number 3, no other viable options. By the time Strange realized the spell was dangerously unstable, there was no going back to fix it or trying again. The only way to prevent the multiverse from being destroyed was to cast a final, all-encompassing spell to make everyone on Earth forget Spider-Man, including Peter Parker himself. I don't know. Definitely. Let's see here. Okay. Jessica Fryman, do you think the new Avatar will be able to go into the Avatar state? And what could I don't know what that means. Do you think the new Avatar will be able to go into the Avatar state? And what could movie theaters do to get people to come to movies more often just to see the latest Disney or Marvel movie and have seen this theory? Oh, okay. Looks like there's 3 questions. I have seen this Power Ranger fanfic a lot about how Ernie from the Juice Bar somehow know that Jason and the others were Power Rangers. Do you think it's true? Do you think Ernie knew?
I like to think so. I always look at Ernie as that kind of like wise mentor who knows a lot more than he lets
He
on.
lets on. I can dig that. Do you think the new Avatar will go into the Avatar state?
I hope not right off the bat. I hope it's something that they have to like kind of learn over time. And I say that only because like, or actually, you know what? Let me put it this way. If they do go into the Avatar state and they have full control of it, the threats better be big because that kind of, basically Avatar state is, think of it like, Super Saiyan, except for once you reach that state, it's really, really hard to control. Like that's something that even Aang was never able to do until the very end of the series. Yeah, so it'd be interesting to see though if they go a different direction than this. Like the threats get bigger, so this new Avatar masters the state from the beginning. But yes, I do think we are going to have this Avatar going into the Avatar state at some point.
And what can movie theaters do to get people to come to the movies more often just to see the latest Marvel movie or Disney movie? Reduce costs and prices for a movie going experience would be great. I don't know how much, maybe reducing prices, but I think because of the explosion of movie production costs, it then in turn has the movie theaters become more expensive in regards to ticket prices and things like that. So I don't know, maybe movie theaters, protesting against production companies to reduce their costs and budgets, maybe reduce costs at the movie theaters, cooler, better promotions, I guess. Movie theaters already are trying to do their best with like AMC. Like I think AMC stubs, my AMC stubs, my A list is like one of the best creations in the world. I literally pay less than $30 a month. It's like I think of like my AMC stubs as like a streaming service. I pay like $25 to $28 a month for it, but I get the option to see 4 movies a week that I don't have to pay for every time that I go. The only thing I have to pay for is concessions. And even then, sometimes if I do pay for concessions, I get rewards. So I can eventually turn that around and save like $5-10 here or there. I get rewards on my birthday every year. I can upgrade my regular Cokes and drinks to larges and pay the regular price for it. But the option to be able to see 3 to 4 movies a week, that's like I could see it was, what is that? I'm terrible at that. 16 movies a month if I want to for 28 bucks. I think is a saver. But the trick to the AMC is that it doesn't include like your family. It's like one individual person. So that I have to pay 30 a month, and then Stuart, you would have to pay $30 a month if we wanted to go, or I'm getting my ticket for free, but then I'm having to pay for your ticket if you don't have AMC. So that's kind of a downside to it.
No +1 option. But yeah, I think that like for me as someone working in the theater, one, they could hire more people so that way more theaters can often, not only does it make lines go by faster for concession and buying tickets, but also it means that like cleaner theaters, and you also can have more people to like actually do theater checks every now and then to make sure no one's talking or texting on their phone like during the movie. I think like things like that. And then the other thing is too, more events, because like the Draft House does them, but like more theaters need to be doing more like special events. And I think that's why I like going to like independent theaters, because they tend to do like fun special events like all the time. I mean, our theater, even though we're not an independent theater, but we do what we call Terror Tuesday and Weird Wednesday. We show like really bizarre cult horror films every Tuesday and every Wednesday. We have a dude that'll go up on stage before the movie starts. He'll talk about like why this movie is significant, like give a little history behind it. And it's just kind of a cool way for movie lovers to connect, because a lot of people have kind of met each other through Terror Tuesday and Weird Wednesday. The guy who hosts these events encourages people to hang out afterwards so they can all like kind of talk about the movie together. It's a fun experience.
I really dig that. Most talented man in the world. Jason Lee Scott is consistently represented as a heroic leader, but is not without his flaws or personal burdens. Despite being the original Red Ranger and perfect role model, he was susceptible to being captured, notably by Goldar, and later by Divatox in Power Ranger movie. A key source of his internal struggle was his guilt over failing to save Tommy's Green Ranger powers, a memory symbolized by keeping the Dragon Power coin, which culminated in him having to save Tommy again during Zeo King for a Day arc. Furthermore, the Gold Ranger powers he later wielded nearly cost him his life, and the 2017 reboot depicted him as a reckless outcast with a troubled relationship with his father and a strong sense of self-blame, raising the question, was Jason's greatest challenge always external threats, or was it his internal struggle with responsibility and failure? I would say the latter here.
Yeah.
I think the internal struggle with responsibility and failure is a good one, based off of just his arcs that he's kind of had. It's what made me appreciate his character even more, honestly. Like that dragon, like the failing to save Tommy, I think as a kid for me really stuck with me. And so to kind of see him get sort of like that redemption arc in Zeo, really worked for me for his character, honestly. So yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Johnny Marrero, what's up, Johnny? Good to see you here, man. Are you excited that Neil Moritz is going to do the live action TMNT films in the style of the live action Sonic movies? I'm eager for a live action TMNT film. I don't know how I feel about the Sonic line. I'm gonna have to see like who's brought on, who they wanted to bring in on board, writer and director wise, and first look stuff, to see like how Sonic are we really getting here. But yeah. Who do you think is the most likely to be cast in the new Power Ranger reboot for Disney Plus? Oh God. I feel like it's going to be a couple people we don't know, maybe one or two recognizable people. I don't know. I haven't really thought about any fan casting lately yet. I would love to know your cast though, Johnny. Who do you want to see cast as the Ninja Turtles? Ooh. He's got some names already. Malachi Barton, Mason Thames, interesting. Noah Schnapp, and Walker Scobell for the new Sonic Fine films. And also, do you think Gabrielle Nevea of Stranger Things First Shadows would make a great April O'Neil? I don't know who half these people are.
Yeah, to be
Except for
honest,
Mason Thames.
I think like when it comes to like movies that require like, or that are looking for like kind of the younger cast, I always want them to be actors that I don't really know too well. So that's why like I don't really have a fan cast when it comes to like the Power Rangers reboot coming to Disney Plus, and then same with Teen Titans, because I kind of just prefer like they go with like unknowns at the time, you know, and have that way like as they kind of grow as actors, they kind of grow into the character as well. So it's almost like you're watching the character grow with them. The only thing that I could kind of think of for an exception, though, because I would assume that she'd be, you know, at least starting out as a reporter by the time of the movie. I do think Sadie, what's her name?
Sink?
Sadie Sink would be really cool to have as April O'Neil in the live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie.
That would be dope. Yeah, I do love Sadie Sink. Doomsday, I hope you don't mind all the Goes Use Your updates that I'm currently giving you about Maya Amamori, because it was revealed that Toei has officially recast Amino, and now starting with episode 40, she'll be played by the same actress who played Oni's sister. So we have further confirmation on this. Also, it was reported she's actually fired for serving drinks at a bar underage, not actually drinking underage. That's even worse for me, honestly, which I don't know why they said she was drinking when she was just working at the bar. Also, the other week I may have misspoke a bit. It wasn't Toei that fired Maya, it was her actual agency, Seiju, that fired her, and because she was terminated from it, Toei was forced to heavily edit episode 37 and take Sumino completely out of the opening theme song, since they can't show the actor's likeness if they don't have any agency. You know, I look, I love the girl that played Oni's sister. I think she was perfect in Don Brothers. you know, I know that this is an audible and you probably have to find somebody really quick, but you just can't tell me that there's just not people knocking at the door to go ahead and become a Super Sentai character in the acting agency that you then have to just rely on giving Samino the job. I literally just seen her in Don Brothers. It's going to be really hard to kind of like, um, you know, hold my imagination to now she's playing somebody else and she's not the same character. So I get the move of recasting it. I just don't know if she should have been the one cast because she's already laid her groundwork in Super Sentai, especially if she's playing somebody else. Now, if she comes back to replace a character and she's playing herself from Don Brothers, I get it. But all notion is that she's actually playing the character that Maya Amamori was playing. And to me, no, I'm just not a fan of that. I'm not a fan of that. I'd rather just get somebody a fresh face. Blossom, it's horrible to say that it's horrible that so many people are being replaced by AI, isn't it? It's like we've worked for doesn't even matter anymore. I've heard Disney is planning to use AI for their projects, for instance. It's heartbreaking, isn't it? I've said it once, I'll say it again. Human actors, creativity, and God-given gifts are sacred. Why can't that get through people's heads? Sorry for ranting like that, but AI is an insult to artists like myself. Miyazaki and others are just pissed as I am when people are using AI to copy their work. You can't replace art with technology, you know? I mean, look, I totally understand you, Blossom, for sure. I wish these CEOs and these producers and things like that of these companies or the CEOs of these companies believe that too. But you know, for them, it's just about money. I don't know how much in regards to Disney is planning to use AI, but you know, AI is here to stay. That's certainly not an excuse at all, and I'm certainly not defending AI in the slightest. But it is kind of sad how much it's kind of taken over and really quickly and causing a lot of people their jobs, even not in just artists in general, but just you know human jobs in general. It's kind of replacing them. But yeah, it's unfortunate. I hate it too.
Yeah.
I appreciate Rian Johnson. I appreciate Guillermo del Toro using their platform to say FAI, you know?
I love recently the creator of the Owl House after she found out that Disney was going to add the AI feature on the app, which allows users to use IPs from Disney to create their own like AI generated content. The creator of the Owl House then just went, everyone pirate my show. Don't cancel your Disney Plus subscriptions. And if you want to watch my show, just pirate it.
Yeah, I don't blame them. I don't blame them. You gotta take stances in some way to get Disney's attention. And last but not least, Tony Robinson. Do you think with Lanterns getting pushed back, it could be a good thing because they're probably adding more things? You know, I'm all for, especially when it comes to Lanterns, especially something that's going to be kind of CGI heavy in certain terms, especially with it being on HBO Max. It needs to be top notch. So I have no problem with the idea of it being pushed back. I don't think it has anything to do with the quality so much as just the timing of when you want to release it amongst all these DCU studio projects, what kind of fits for it, and if it allows them to have more time to work out some of the special effects, more power to them. So I do think it's a good thing. With Stranger Things returning this upcoming week, does this make you guys a little emotional because this will be the last time we see the characters? For me, absolutely, dude. Absolutely. I'm terrified for these characters. I heard a recent report the Don brothers said that one of the final deaths in Stranger Things is going to be the most violent thing that they've ever done. I'm terrified it's a character that I love. And I'm hoping it's Vecna as I'm hoping it's Vecna that has a really brutal ending, but I'm like, please just don't make it one of these kids or these characters that I love, but I'm emotionally trying to prepare myself because yeah, I'm gonna get emotional.
Yeah.
And then lastly, next year, do you think that Hasbro will be able to get a lot of eyes on Power Rangers, or will Marvel and DC drown it out? Well, one, I don't even know if we have a release date yet for Power Rangers. So I don't even know if that show is even going to be released in 2026 or if it's going to be released in 2027. I know production for the show begins early 2026. So something tells me I'm not expecting the series itself until 2027. So no, I don't think Marvel and DC will drown it out. I think as long as Hasbro is strategic in which they reveal things, in moments of silence between Marvel and DC news, I think you do big things. Like if somebody doesn't show up at Comic-Con, have Hasbro there with Power Rangers at Comic-Con. You really take advantage of maybe a D23 next year for Disney Plus. If they do something like that, as long as you're strategic with it, I don't think Marvel and DC will drown it out. But you got to you got to build some level of marketing and promotion behind it early. But so I think it's possible. I think they can survive it. But other than that, guys, that will do it for all of our live viewer questions, guys. So thank you so much for everybody that participated here this week, submitting your live viewer questions, dropping them off. Remember, we post this every Saturday evening or Saturday afternoon and Saturday evening for you guys to submit them over. And we always appreciate having great discussions with you guys. And so thank you guys so much for participating. But Stuart, I think that will do it for us here today, man. I think we may be off next week. For Thanksgiving weekend.
That's right. Yeah. There's a chance I probably won't be able to make it regardless.
So probably not going to have a show next week. There are a couple things Star Wars related that's kind of floating out there. Kind of want to talk about. I don't know because we do have the holiday coming up here this week, so people's schedules might end up being relatively busy leading into the holidays. So maybe after the holiday weekend, maybe we can do like a solo Star Wars video. If more news drops to talk about some things currently out there with Will and Crystal, seeing how everybody's schedule is doing. So next Sunday, do not expect a new episode of A+ Hero Report, but we will be back that beginning week of December. And Stuart, we need to start getting our lists ready.
Oh,
yeah. Now that we
are anticipated films of 2026 and our best films of 2025. I gotta there's a list of movies I still gotta see before I do my top 5 for 2025. But yes, I definitely agree.
So yeah, get those ready because within the next, I would say 2 to 3-ish weeks, we'll probably start recording. Some of those should drop throughout the month of December for you guys. So we're gonna look back at our ranked list of most anticipated from 2025, and we're gonna re-rank them in regards to what we loved about them, what we hated about, just from best to least, and then our most anticipated going into 2026. So look forward to those guys. But Stuart, if people want to, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, and for anyone watching, if you guys have ideas for movies that came out this year that you think that we may not have seen, or that you just want to make sure that we've seen, so we can consider it, let us know in the comments after the video. Let us know what movies you want us to check out and make sure they came out this year.
Yeah, absolutely, for 2025. But yeah, let us know your thoughts in the comments after the video. But Stuart, if people want to find you on social media, man, where can they find you?
You guys can find me on Instagram and on Letterboxd and on TikTok at TurboStew01.
And if you want to follow us on social media everywhere at A+ Opinions right here. We're also on TikTok over here at Hero Report. Feel free to follow us over there, but mostly on our main social media pages, Facebook especially. That's where we drop all the news throughout the week. And then we take 6 topics from there and we talk about them here. And then also check us out over on our YouTube page, which is our main page here. Feel free to subscribe to the channel and click that bell notification so when we do drop a brand new video, you guys will be notified. But other than that, that will do it for us here today, y'all. Thank you so much for everybody's participation. We'll see you in about 2 weeks. But until then, do us a big favor, as always. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and keep it A+. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.